Welcome in. Welcome to another episode of The Deep Dive. We are in our final episode for the season. I am Dr. Shawn Smith. I am your host. And today we're talking about overthinking and how to end it. If it's your first time in the room with us, I'm going to say welcome in the chat. Please be sure to know that if you are in the room, I'd love it if you said something in the chat, said hello, said greetings, whatever it may be. That way I can acknowledge you to the whole of the group and actually have you be shouted out. And so as folks funnel in, one of the things that I want to make sure you know and are aware of very early is the fact that the book Spiritual Responsibility is now available. Links are in the description. And folks, before we jump in today, the one thing I really want to make sure I'm talking to you about is the importance of why do people still write books? Why do people still write books? Yes, it was, a work of love to be able to do that, and took some time. But why would you write a book? Why would you read a book? As opposed to watching documentaries, you'll hear people say that, like, I don't really read books, but I watch a lot of documentaries. The reason is because we can gather more information. We can gather more details. We can absorb more information through a book. You can think about it like this, like if I have a two hour live, right? And I were to transcribe everything that I said in that 2 hours into a single document that was written. That document might be 10 pages, 20 pages, maybe 30. Right? So when you're getting 300 pages of writing, you're able to move through that faster than I could possibly speak it to you. And you're able to go back through and underline and do all different types of things. Books are ways of communicating with people through time. They're ways of communicating with people through time. This is so important that you read. And I know many of you are already reading, but I'm saying for the people who are just coming in and are just, so looking forward to YouTube videos. The reality is that we go deeper when we read, and we can get into conversation with authors. And not only that, I don't want you to think about this as an intellectual book. I'd rather you think about this as a spiritual book that is allowing you to go deeper into yourself. All of the writing, all of the prompts, even the way that it's written, because it's not really written in like full block text, so it reads very quickly, but even the way that it's written is meant to bring you into a clear understanding of yourself. And that's critically important. That's critically important. Because even if you watch a 2.5 hour documentary, it cannot do the same work that a book can do. And I know that in our current culture, the current global world culture, we tend to overlook books and overlook writers and overlook all that. This is a mistake. This is a mistake. The point of the technology that is a book is to be able to communicate massive amounts of details in a short amount of time. I don't really understand folks who don't read. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't care how many documentaries people watching. You know what I'm saying? That's not to denigrate anybody. It's just to say, look, you must read. You must read. And so in our season finale tonight, we're talking about overthinking. And all of these concepts have been written about and spoken about. The information is there. The question is, are you using it? As we jump into today's deep dive, into today's video, we'll come to understand that there is a certain power that allows us to escape overthinking in perpetuity. There is a certain power that allows us to escape overthinking forever. Our goal today is to find out and discover together what that power is. It's important to know this power is not something that comes from the outside. It is a power that comes from within. And so as we dive into our discussion for the day, as we dive into the video for the day, always we are looking to make use of, we are looking to excavate that which we can use for our lives out of every moment that we spend together. And so if you have not grabbed the book, Spiritual Responsibility, that's a part of what this text is about. This text is about getting you true freedom. If you've not grabbed it, I highly encourage you. Do that now. And in the meantime, we'll go ahead and begin today's video. Here we go. For you who are dealing with overthinking, constantly going back and forth about if the decision you're making is making sense, or for you who are dealing with overthinking, constantly going back and forth about if the decision you're making is making sense, or if the decision you're making is in alignment with your goals and higher purpose, I think it's very important to understand and know that inner peace itself is a requirement for good decision making. Inner peace must be accessed before you can appropriately apply logic, before you can appropriately apply thinking. And there we go. There we go. We've been introduced to the issue, which is overthinking. Overthinking leads us to fearful decision making. Making a decision just because you want to get away from the stress that's being caused by your own internal conflicts. So you make a decision too quickly. Or even worse, you're overthinking so much that you make the decision too slowly. And not only that, draining energy along the way, such that when it's time to make a new decision, that next decision is already compromised by your lack of clear seeing. This is an issue. This is an issue. I would say that overthinking is actually an extension of every weakness is an extension of your strengths. And so overthinking is just an extension of your ability to solve problems intellectually. That's great. Except when it goes off the rails. Except when your ability to problem solve is being gut-wrenched, is being overused, is being overutilized. Independently of inner peace. That's an issue. Because that ability to intellectually get to the bottom of things, which has helped you in so many different ways, in so many different places, your ability to think, that's great. But when you overuse thought, rely too much on thinking, We call that overthinking. You're over implementing the tool without first grounding yourself in the inner peace. That inner peace is so critical. You must access it before thinking can be appropriately applied. You must access inner peace before thinking can be appropriately applied. You must access inner peace before thinking can be appropriately applied. You have no use for logic if there is no inner peace. There is no use. What's the point? How do you know? If you're not peaceful, how do you know if your decisions, if your thinking is being geared toward a fearful decision versus a loving decision? How do you know? How do you know if you've not established yourself in inner peace? How do you know whether or not your decisions, your thinking has been co-opted by fear and so is no longer helping you, is actually leading you toward a road you don't want to be down, you don't want to go down? As opposed to using your thinking in order to help you get more of what you love, more of what you want. Without that inner peace, that clear seeing, that clarity, you don't know. It's a crapshoot. It's a crapshoot. The reason is because, and I heard this quote in grad school. Here's the crazy thing is I don't know if I really don't know. I reached out to one of my grad school my advisor for my dissertation and all that. And I asked him about this quote because I think I read it in one of his classes. This is years ago. I reached out to him like the other day. And the quote was that reason, thinking, reason itself, rationality itself. So when it says reason can serve many masters, and the truth is not always one. Reason may serve many masters, and the truth is not always one. What's that mean? It means that you can be thinking in very calculated, detailed, logical, and rational ways and still apply that very meticulous thinking in the wrong direction. Apply that meticulous thinking in a way that justifies your fears. Apply that meticulous thinking in a way that justifies your insecurities. That's not the truth. Your fears and insecurities are not the truth of reality. They're not the truth of existence. They are not the truth of you. Therefore, to apply your reasoning in the direction of that which is not the truth is a misuse of reasoning. It's a misuse of reasoning, and you'll do it every single time if you do not establish yourself in inner peace. You'll do it every single time. What is overthinking? Overthinking is the process of going back and forth between alternatives, between trying to justify one situation over another, between trying to say that one situation is better than another. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. What's at the heart of that? What's at the core of that? The root of that? What's at the root of, maybe it's this one or maybe it's that one. What's at the root of that? At the root of that is anxiety, and at the root of anxiety is fear. Fear of making the wrong decision and having to live with the consequences. So what I'm saying on tonight What I'm saying on tonight is you are not in a position to think until the inner peace has been established. You find yourself going back and forth, thinking, okay, well, maybe I'll make this decision here. Maybe what we need to do is hire a few more people, or maybe what we need to do is let a few more people go, or maybe what we need to do is get clear on an agenda, get clear on a plan. You're pacing back and forth. I can speak like this because I've been like this. If you can simply remember in that moment that, oh, wait, my very capacity for reasoning has been compromised. I must return to inner peace. I must return to clarity. Otherwise, I won't have the judgment, the discernment necessary in order to evaluate whether or not I've created a good decision anyway. In order to evaluate whether or not I'm making the right choice. You understand this? So when we talk about overthinking, and when we talk about the very capacity for reasoning, we're not in a position to reason until we've been established in inner peace. I hope that's clear. Why? Because reason can serve many masters, but the truth is not always one. Funny thing about that quote, I'm not sure if that quote is a summary. Sometimes if you're reading, in grad school, you're reading a book a day, right? Every day. If you're doing the work, right? Some people start skipping all that, but that quote, I'm not sure if that was a line. Were we reading Nietzsche? Was that Kant? Was that, right? So was it one of the philosophers, or was it my summary of a philosopher? Not really sure, but I know that it resonated and stuck. And I offer it to you today. That reason itself can serve many masters, but the truth is not always one. What's that mean? In the Bible, it says, lean not on your own understanding. Which is what? Lean not on your own rationality, how things appear to you, your own thinking system. In the Tao Te Ching, it talks about the master lets go of all thoughts. Why would you do that? Why would you let go of all thoughts? Because only in letting go of your thinking and letting go of all thought can you see clearly your choices from a clear, unbiased perspective and be able to make a decision where you're discerning and evaluating your choices that are in a way that's in alignment with what you actually want. This is the value of that clarity. This is the value of that clarity. So we want to make sure that what we're doing is always coming back to that inner clarity. I've heard Rupert Spira, he's a great YouTuber. I mean, he's a spiritual teacher, but he also happens to have a YouTube channel. And one of the things he said once, he was like, I think he might have been quoting someone else, but one of the things that he said was, real thinkers do not think. Real thinkers do not think. What did he mean? He meant that true thinkers, real thinkers, people who are really good at thinking, they know how to go beyond all thought. They know how to go beyond all thought itself. To transcend thought. And having transcended thought, they can come back and evaluate They can look from their they can look upon their own thinking processes with a new perspective, and then they can vet their thoughts in accordance with that new higher perspective. They're standing at a different vantage point. They've so utilized their capacity for thought that they've seen that thought has a limit, a finish point, and that to go beyond it is to return to an inner peace and inner divine clarity that has an intelligence that's far greater than any thought. And from that greater intelligence, they can select, or rather impregnate their thought and offer the world something new. You understand? From that greater intelligence, they can impregnate their thought and their thinking and offer the world something new, birth something valuable. Not because they've thought so much, but precisely because they've transcended thought, got to an intelligence that's beyond thinking, and then reapplied it, returned to thought, carrying the scent of the divine. You understand? You understand? That's the value. That's the value that we're talking about here. So when I say inner peace, this is not just, okay, we'll just be mindful, guys. Like, okay, but what are the mechanics? How does it actually help us stop overthinking? What's happening when we get into a place of inner peace? That's the point of today. Anytime you feel yourself stressing because you have a decision to make, and it's a rough decision, I encourage you to return to inner peace. The capacity to go beyond all thinking, the capacity to go beyond and transcend thought is a part of what you get out of spiritual responsibility. It's a part of the framework that I call transcendent psychology. That framework is crystallized here so that you are getting conscious transformation technologies that allow you to create that inner peace at will. This is the point. It's why you must read. Read. Yes, get the book, but read the book. That's the most important thing. So that you can learn how to go beyond all thinking itself. This is the most important thing I can share with you tonight. It is the most important thing I can share with you tonight. Let's get back. If you do not, then your thinking, your logic, all the highest faculties of your reasoning will be deployed based on fear. And so we'll get you the things that fear gets you. It'll get you the things that move you away from freedom, move you away from higher purpose, and toward that which is safe, secure, and ultimately small. And don't you find that? Don't you find that when you act from a fearful position, you end up contracting your energy? You end up contracting your energy. You end up trying to protect rather than expand, trying to play defense rather than play offense. In the words of the great philosopher and poet Nipsey Hussle, there's no point in playing defense, dude. That's why I jump off the deep end, dude, without a life jacket. No point in playing defense, homie. That's why I jump off the deep end, Oni, without a life jacket. That sense of expansion must come from a divine clarity. That sense of expansion must come from that place of inner peace, that place of inner stillness. Otherwise, you'll be making decisions based off of that which you're afraid of, trying to protect, not thinking about getting more, not thinking about reaching for more, but thinking about how to just protect what's available right now. Let me ask you something. Does that sound like abundance or does that sound like scarcity? No, I need to know. Does that sound like abundance or does that sound like scarcity? Put it in the chat, please. Does that sound like abundance or does that sound like scarcity? I need to know. Because if you tell me that it sounds like scarcity, then my question is, focused on scarcity, how could you ever create abundance? Focused on fear, how could you ever create all that you would have? I gotta know, because I haven't seen it done. In fact, that would defy the laws of consciousness. That would defy the laws of God. What you focus on is what you get. Focus on that scarcity, I promise you'll find it. Focus on that abundance, I promise you'll find it. This is the value. So, knowing that, to try and protect, try and stay safe, try and be reasonable, do you really believe that that mentality, that sort of approach to existence is going to yield all the fruits that you would have, that you could have? You'll remember that we've talked about this before. There is no such thing as love and fear coexisting at the same time. What is another way of saying that? There is no such thing as scarcity thinking coexisting with love at the same time. Which means love, peace, happiness, Sat Chit Ananda, terms that come out of the Advaita tradition. All of these are just other names for God. Therefore, there is no fear when God is in the room. When God is present, there is no fear, which means there is no scarcity. Which means that the entire world opens up to you. Nope. The entire universe opens up to you. Nope. The entire fabric of reality opens up to you. Somebody put yes in the chat if you understand. Somebody put yes in the chat if you understand. That God essence, what we call supreme awareness, ever flowing, ever beautiful, ever present, ever here. Tap into it and end your overthinking. Tap into it and end your overthinking. This is the point. This is the way. Let's continue. You're not even ready to think until you've been grounded in inner peace. You're not even ready to use logic until you've been grounded in inner peace. Inner peace provides access to spiritual powers. I'm talking about ideas. I'm saying new actions in alignment with higher purpose. The inner peace defeats all fear. The inner peace defeats all fear. Why is that? Because true inner peace is the scent and signature of God, is the scent and signature of supreme awareness, the scent and signature of consciousness. It knows that it has, to say it has existed for eons would be calling it an infant. It is beyond eons. And so the human life of 100 years and any of the issues that temporarily pop up within that 100-year time span hardly noticeable. No, it weighs nothing to consciousness. It weighs nothing to God. That inner peace begins to provide access to spiritual powers. What am I saying? Have you ever been thinking so much about something, decided to take a break from thinking about it just because you were mentally exhausted or whatever, went to sleep, woke up, and suddenly found that you had a way forward? Something that you enjoyed? An aha moment? Oh, yes, right. I could just do that. I could just go ahead and, oh, yeah, why don't I just go ahead and do, well, that'll save me so much time. I'll just go ahead and finish. Or you jump in the shower, or you listen to music, or you do something else that takes your mind off of it and it appears to you. I'm talking about that times 10. I'm talking about that very thing times 10. That ability to return to inner peace grants you freedom not only from overthinking, but grants you the freedom to access. Grants you the freedom to access new ideas, things you wouldn't have thought about, things that are in alignment with that inner peace. In other words, things that you actually want to do. This is the value. But many never find it because folks are so interested. We get so interested in just solving the issue through thinking, particularly if you're a finisher, if you're a person who needs to finish an activity, who needs a final judgment on an activity before you can move on to something else. If you are such a person, well, welcome to the club. But the reality still is that by stepping into that inner peace, stepping into that clarity, you can recognize that thought is not of the sort of intelligence that can take you beyond. And so that inner peace takes you directly to the intelligence that already is beyond. You understand? That inner peace takes you to the intelligence that is already beyond. We don't have to wait for thought. Thought is a tool we use. It is not the highest intelligence of the universe. It is not. Regardless of what Western science wants to tell you or Western philosophers want to tell you. Descartes had it confused. I am, therefore I think, is the appropriate order of operation. Descartes said, I think, therefore I am. I'm saying, I am, therefore I think. Appropriately. That is the proper order of operation. and we settle for nothing less. This video that we are currently doing our deep dive on, this is one of the most important deep dives because I think people can overlook the value of inner peace. People think that it's just nice to feel it, but don't recognize all of the productive potential of peace on your own outcomes. Yes, the feeling of peace is the point and is critical. That's kind of the whole point. When I say inner peace, I'm also saying happiness. I'm also saying love. I'm also saying joy. They're just different sides of the same unitary whole. So yes, inner peace is the point in and of itself, but do not miss its productive potential in your own life. And you sidestep that by jumping into overthinking. You overlook that by jumping into overthinking. This is an issue. If you want inner peace, if you want to live the life that is of your higher purpose. Let me go ahead and say it this way. The surest way to know that you are out of sync with higher purpose is to check in and feel inner peace. If you can't feel inner peace, you can bet that higher purpose is missing. If you cannot feel inner peace, you can bet that you are off the path of your higher purpose. Simply return, and everything snaps right back into alignment, regardless of what other people are telling you. Maybe they say you're lazy. Maybe they say you haven't done enough. Maybe they say you could be doing more. You should be growing more. Unconcerned. They are only responding based off the fears as evidenced by what they see. They've not tapped into this higher realm, this higher understanding. And therefore, their judgment of you is based on, even if they care about you, it's based on their idea of love for you, not on love itself, on their idea of love. No need to make them wrong, only a need to return back to that simplicity, return back to that inner peace. This is what I'm saying. That's what I'm talking about. Return back to that inner peace. Don't need to make them wrong. Your very example of living in peace will serve them. Your very example of living in inner peace, abiding in inner peace, resonating with inner peace will serve them. You'll start to feel that as they come around, they start saying, hey, man, how do I get more of what you got, man? Why are you always happy, man? What you got going on, man? And at that point, that's when you'll know that the peace that you have found is now activating within them. They already have it too. It's just that your light will light the way for them to discover the secret to their own light. Somebody put I understand in the chat if you understand. Okay, all right. So Christy is in the room. Christy, what's happening? Christy says excited about the book release. Awesome, awesome. Dee Dee's saying hello all. Dee Dee, what's happening? V, when you are always defending, you keep finding more to defend yourself against. Never ending cycle. That's right. That's right. When you're always defending, you're in a never ending cycle. And isn't that the very process of overthinking? Right? We start building up all of these different debaters within our heads, within the mind. And each debater has a set of points and counterpoints and keeps going back and forth. And we have to animate each one of them. We have to offer our energy to each one of those debaters that exist within our minds. All standing around a room within the hall of mind, all having a conversation about, well, actually, we could do it this way, or no, we could do it this way. No, what we really should do is this way. And each debater draining you. When will you allow the king to come into the room and say, enough debate. Let's return to the source. Enough debate. Let's return to the source. My vision for you is that you'll get so good at this that the moment you start to sense an inner debate happening, let me return to inner peace. There's a difference between thinking, because it's strategic, coordinated, and necessary. You need to make a plan. You need to create a agenda. You need to strategize. Nothing wrong with that. That's just called thinking. Overthinking happens when you begin to lace your thoughts with fear and then start trying to justify which fearful thought makes the most sense to deploy. What? No. Return to that source. V saying yes. Christy saying yes. Yolanda's saying thank you. Awaken Phoenix is saying I understand. Excellent. Awaken Phoenix, welcome in. I think this might be our first time having you in the room, but I understand. I understand. Do not miss the productive potentiality of peace. If you're leading a small group, if you're leading a large group, getting the people in your meetings to a place where they are stable and in a position to effectively think is going to be the work of every great leader. You must understand this. Of course, that leader must first embody the peace that you're looking to engender into the small group. But the point is that if we can think of peace as having productive potentiality, that we can find a better way to hit our goals and not just hit outcomes that we've arbitrarily set, but hit the ones that actually matter to us, we require this inner peace. We require this inner peace. Let's get back into our video. Here we go. It's synonymous with love. This is what it means to be established in the I don't mind, the neutral psychological space where you can say I don't mind to what's happening and mean it. Because what happens if you decide that, okay, so we need to just have a brief conversation about that. So remember, the I don't mind is, as was just said, the neutral psychological space where you can literally look at everything that's happening in your life and say, I don't mind. Not in the I don't mind of I don't care anymore, the despondent nihilism. We're not talking about that. We're not talking about the negative I don't mind. We're not talking about an I don't mind that means I don't care or I don't want to engage, or the other way of saying that is I'm too afraid to actually engage with the world. That's not the I don't mind I'm talking about. That's just more fear. I'm talking about the actual feeling sense that whatever is happening, I'm neutral toward. And I'm neutral toward all of existence. I don't need things to be a certain way. That's the start of me actually turning things into the way that I want. If I continue to fight against what is, that's an uphill battle. But by returning to neutrality, I can see more clearly what my options are and select them accordingly. You understand? I can see what my options are and select them accordingly. You understand? That is the Idon mind. That is the accessing the productive potentiality of peace. That's why we talk about, if you can see on the cover, supreme awareness, and then we go right over here to the Idon mind. That's what this video is in the, it's in the sequence, the category of videos called, that we just called the Idon mind videos. And then from that Idon mind, then we can get over into faith manifestation, but not before. We do not want to start applying faith techniques based on fear. Those techniques are likely not to work. Why? Because faith and fear don't coexist. Or rather, if you have fear, then that becomes your focus, and your focus is what you get. You end up manifesting more of what you fear. That's the issue. So rather than that, we'll go return to that productive potentiality of the Idon mind first. We're on this side of the Idon mind first. That's how this system begins. We start with supreme awareness. Then we come on over to the Idon mind, where we activate the productive potentiality of peace, and then we move over into creating the reality we want by directing our focus toward that which we love. And because what we focus on, we get, having the ability to focus and not have our focus co-opted or interrupted by thinking or overthinking, we're able to call forth that reality we love to see. We are able to call forth that reality we love to see. This is the point. This is the way. Let's get back. I'm gonna go ahead and just work on this plan. I'm just gonna go ahead and put this campaign together. I'm just gonna go ahead and work on this plan. I'm just gonna go ahead and put this campaign together. I'm just gonna go ahead and get started, even though the thinking that you're using is completely geared toward staying alive. It's completely geared toward ego preservation as opposed to God's plan. And you'll hear that. You'll hear people. For a long time, I used to live and operate by the idea of just do it afraid, do it afraid, do it afraid. And okay, that got me. That was wonderful. That was a helpful way of getting me to build up my capacity to continue forward, to build up my capacity for willpower, my capacity for discipline, my capacity for continuing against whatever life may bring. But that was only one stage of development. That's only one stage of development. If there was nothing else, if that's all you had, then sure. I mean, you just do it afraid. That's fine. But then to understand that there's a level beyond is also joyous. That level where we are coming into terms with the fact that by establishing ourselves first in inner peace, we can find that pathway that is most effective. And even if we have to sojourn through dangerous situations, we can do so carrying the scent of inner peace. We can do so with clarity of mind. We can do so with neutrality to outcome. We can do so without fear at all. That's the different level. That's the different level. I'll never forget the first time I went skydiving. If you haven't seen the very end of the Dr. Umar Johnson interview special, I talk about it there. I didn't release it as a single video, but I talk about it there. And so there's like some footage of me jumping out of a plane. But on that day, Felicity went and surprised me. It was my 30th birthday, and she was like, "Oh, just get in the car," and you know, get in the car, after getting some breakfast or whatever, and we pull up to this skydiving joint, and cats are just jumping out of planes on the normal. I'm not a person that has expressed wanting to jump out of planes my whole life. Like, it's not like something that I would typically, decide that I wanted to do. But I saw it as an opportunity to say, if today was the day that you passed out of the body, that the chute doesn't open, can you jump out of that plane anyway without fear? Without fear. Not do it afraid, without fear. And so for some reason we couldn't like jump out the plane that day, so we had to come back the next day, or maybe it was in a few hours. Anyway, there was a lag time between the time that we knew we were going to do the thing and the time that we had to go do the thing. And so in that space, there's plenty of time for overthinking, plenty of time for saying, "Oh man, I don't know if I really want to do this. This is how I want to spend my birthday." Plenty of time for getting scared and allowing that fear to move you in another direction. And so we ended up getting in there, jumping in these, jumping out the plane. And I remember looking down and having this switch go off and just saying, we're just going to flick off fear. And the way we do that is by getting very, very present. And so jumping out of that plane, I can remember there being no fear. And the dude that we had to jump out the plane with, because you can't, you got to jump out with somebody if it's your first time and you haven't like trained or taken, certifications in the United States anyway. And the dude was like, trying to get me. He was like, "Oh man, how do you know today's not your day?" Like, this is a dude that, works there, talking about, how do you know, he's trying to get in your head and that sort of thing. Um, didn't work. Didn't work. Once we hit the ground, the chute did open. Once we hit the ground, he was like, "You were not the most afraid person that I've ever seen," which I guess was like his way of kind of complimenting me. I don't really know, but the point is that whatever, regardless of whatever he saw, I know internally that when there's peace, there is no fear. When there's presence, there is peace, and when there's peace, there is no fear. And so getting to that place beyond where we say, getting to that place beyond where we say we must do it afraid, we can understand that that peace allows us to go beyond doing it afraid. Why do it afraid when you can do it peacefully? Even if it is a dangerous situation. Skydiving isn't may or may not qualify as dangerous for you. It doesn't actually matter. It's all about how you're interpreting your experience anyway. And that's the point. From the perspective of God, which is the perspective of I am, the perspective of consciousness, the perspective of your true self, there is no danger anyway. It was never born and so never dies. What are you talking about? There was never any danger in the first place. Bodies can come and go for sure, but the eternal is, by definition, eternal. There is no danger. There is no assault coming toward it. Why not live in that eternal place? And so recover its nature in your own life. Let's get back.
This is an inappropriate use of logic. It would be like trying to drive a car on a flat tire. You're not ready to go anywhere. You're not ready to drive. To try anyways to cause damage to the overall vehicle and ultimately not go far at all. And what I'm saying today is that inner peace is a higher faculty. It is your bridge to the soul's inner qualities. It is your bridge to the soul's inner talents and connects you with a universal power source far beyond reason and logic alone.
Inner peace is your bridge to supreme awareness, to the qualities of supreme awareness. Inner peace is your bridge to the qualities of supreme awareness. That includes eternity. That includes abundance, being ever abundant, everlasting, eternal. Inner peace is your bridge to those qualities of God, those qualities of supreme awareness. Remember, they're the same thing. Whether I say it's God, supreme awareness, your true self, the Tao, Buddhahood, Buddha nature, Christ consciousness, all the same. When we access that inner peace, we are accessing that which is truly divine. That inner peace is the first step in true freedom. Some people say, if you had nothing but that inner peace, that in and of itself would be true freedom. I'm saying, have that inner peace, and with it, cultivate the life that you love on the external, on the outside, on the exterior. Inner freedom and outer freedom, that's true freedom. Inner freedom and outer freedom, that's true freedom. Inner freedom and outer freedom, that's true freedom. That is the entire point of spiritual responsibility. Literally, the book is called Spiritual Responsibility, A Divine Guide to Inner Peace and Outer Prosperity. Right? So, as we are working with this model, working in transcendent psychology, which is what spiritual responsibility is based on. The point of transcendent psychology is to get us to a place where we say, oh, wait, I'm spiritually responsible for the way that I feel and for everything that I create for my entire life. Why? Because I am the source of all things at my truest self. At your truest self, you alone are God. And therefore, your ability is to step into that identity and live from that place. Live from that place of what I call supreme awareness, of what Dr. Umar Johnson called God consciousness, of what 19 Keys called higher consciousness. If you haven't seen the 19 Keys interview, at least the part 1 of it, go check that out. That just came out yesterday. In it, he's talking about higher consciousness. We're talking about higher consciousness, leaving the avatar behind just for a moment so that you can step into that higher consciousness, that higher faculty. This is so critical. The end screen on this video says the I don't mind is inner peace. You know you're in it when you can look at the circumstances of your life and truly say, I don't mind. When situations, circumstances, outer things, outer experiences no longer affect you emotionally. You've dropped them. You've dropped your belief in them. And what you have left is inner peace. You've dropped your belief in them, and what you have left is inner peace. This is the I don't mind. I don't mind. And the reason I don't mind is because I know that I am something much greater than any circumstance. I know that the God within me is greater than any obstacle outside of me. And when we get into spiritual responsibility, of course, the whole point of it is I know that any obstacle outside of me was actually only created by me, sent by me in order to take me deeper in the truth. Sent by me, not me, the ego, not me, the person, not me, the individual, not me, the human, but that deeper self. This is making sense. Someone put, it's making sense in the chat. Just say makes sense. Because that's the point. As we come to the finale, the season finale of season 1 of the deep dives, the thing I'd like to leave you with is this concept of establishing inner peace. You'll notice that this video is the first video that didn't have a kit in it. And I thought I toggled back and forth on that for a while. But to me, eventually, this was also the first video that I shot on a different type of camera, and I was in the, what would become the studio here. And I had the kits already ready. I actually recorded it, filmed it, but I was like, this piece seems like it's enough of a call out. Like, let this video be a bridge to the kits. If I can simply explain the productive potentiality of inner peace, that would be enough. The very fact that inner peace allows you to become productive, achieve superior ideas, and do so without the energy expense of fear, without the energy expense of anxiety, without the energy expenditure of overthinking. This is the point. Inner peace, do you notice that it doesn't take any energy to be peaceful? It takes energy to maybe try and fight away negative thoughts and try, you can get into that game. But were you to access inner peace, do you recognize that it takes no energy in order to be peaceful? It takes no energy in order to be happy. In fact, these experiences, happiness, peace, love, they recharge your battery, allow you to continue going forward for longer and faster. Funny that. Allow you to continue going forward for longer and faster. Funny that. What I'm saying is, this inner peace, it conquers all fear. And love naturally steps forward. Love naturally steps forward. The Buddha taught that in order to move away from all suffering, one must lose their attachment to desire. Because if you didn't desire anything, or rather if you weren't attached to your own desires, if there was nothing for you to want, then you would have everything that you you would have inner peace would naturally flow and step forward. You would have everything. I'm saying that the Edon mind, your ability to say, I don't mind, is that letting go. Rather than think in terms of desires, just simply let go of the belief that you need something to happen a certain way. And that inner peace naturally reveals itself. This is the point. There is a productive potential to that inner peace because it means that you are not expending energy in fear or overthinking, and instead are open to receiving powerful ideas, and you're not rejecting those ideas based off of a fear of what could work. You'll notice that overthinking, it serves as a blockade to better ideas. Because overthinking is based on fear anyway, you'll throw away all of the ideas that don't seem very comfortable to you. Inner peace does not. Inner peace does not throw away ideas. It's open and receptive. Why? Because at its base is awareness. Fear is looking to protect. Awareness is simply itself. Has nothing to defend. And so is able to be available for all ideas when they come on the floor, but isn't holding on to them, isn't attaching to them, isn't trying to grab onto them. This is what the Buddha warned us about. Trying to hold on to an idea. Trying to hold on to a desire or a sense of how the world ought to be. Awareness does not do that. It's simply aware. Therefore, from that place of inner peace, you access, yes, the qualities of awareness, but you are awareness itself. You remain as and abide in awareness itself, which means you're open to the set of available ideas, and you're in a position to select the one that is the working best. Not based on fear, but based on clarity, a clear sense of vision. Some people want to make a career change. I'm saying get to inner peace first, and then make your decision. Some people want to make a career change but don't know where to start. So maybe start gathering information, maybe start seeking out thought leaders, I'm saying get to inner peace first, and then do what's natural, then do what comes next. The peace will lead you there. as if it were an angel itself. It will lead you to your next best decision. Let's get to inner peace first. Carrying that energy of inner peace, then you'll be able to see what ideas resonate with that peace and which ones do not. So often we get into this comparison game trying to compare ourselves with other people. Mm. That comparison game is basing your decisions off of what you see, not what is. And that's the thing about fear, is that it's responding. Fear is always reactive. It's responding to a negative situation or a negative thought about a situation, which is more appropriately the case. And so starts leading you down all kinds of pathways. You may even try and sabotage someone else's success just because you don't want to see them have it. Inner peace doesn't do that. There's nobody who's in inner peace and trying to sabotage someone else's success. That doesn't make any sense. There would be no reason for it. There would be no motivation for it. The very motivation, the very energy that's required in order to sabotage someone else simply wouldn't be there. In its place is an openness and an availability to all the things that are for your highest good. Shango saying greetings. Oh, Shango, welcome in. Didi saying I most definitely would have overthought and chickened out on jumping out the plane. LOL. Isn't that funny? Didi, isn't that funny that because there's so much time, it's one thing if, there was no time. If it was like, oh, we showed up at this place, oh, we're getting, stuff on, and oh, we're out the plane. You know what I'm saying? But because in this case we had so much, there was a gap in between the time that we saw that we needed to do this thing, or I saw that we needed to do this thing, and actually jumping out. There's a lot of time to be like, oh man, well, look, why don't we just do this on my 36th birthday instead of the 38th, and then we just do this on 39th. And you miss an opportunity. That doesn't mean that doing it on the 30, that there's not a wrong decision. Maybe that would have been a great idea to do it on my 40th or 30th, whatever it was. But remember from last week or a couple weeks ago, we talk about it's not about making the right decision. It's about making the decision right. Making that decision from the place of inner clarity, inner peace. For some folks, the answer might have been to wait and put off jumping out the plane or never jump out. And that's perfectly fine for them, if that decision is based off of that inner peace, that inner clarity. If there is no right decision. So if you tell me, Didi, that you that you would have overthought and chickened out, okay, well that's different, because overthinking and chickening out presuppose fear. Right? They assume that you would have been afraid. I'm saying, were you not afraid, it would be okay for you to say no to jumping out of a plane. Nobody needs to do that. And no one needs to do that. But if you say no based off of that fear, even if you've made the right decision, you didn't make the decision right. You didn't make it based off that inner peace. This is so important. This is so important. We care not about making the right decision. Some decisions, sometimes, what even constitutes a right decision? If you say a right decision is something that gets you more of what you want, how can you be sure that the wrong decision can't also do that? If you say the right decision is that which gets me more of what I want, gets me more of what I love, okay, perfect. How can you be sure that the wrong decision doesn't also get you that? Because of the way of things. I mean, something you make a mistake today, and then that mistake helps you, get you to certain tools that allow you to dramatically enhance your capability. And having made that mistake was actually better than making the right decision in that simple case, because it allows you to not only overcome that situation, but overcome the set of situations that would be like it in the future. That same mistake serves as a catalyst for your dramatic growth. Was the mistake a problem then, or was the mistake a gift then? You dig what I'm saying? That's why we don't concern ourselves out this way for making the right decision. We are only interested in making the decision right. What's that mean? Making it from a place of inner peace. Making it from the place of the Adon mind. The Adon mind is that inner peace. From that place, now we can create what we love, without concern over whether or not we're making the right decision. Already your capacity for overthinking, your need to overthink, diminishes substantially. Somebody put yes in the chat if you feel that. Dee Dee's saying it makes sense. Christy's saying it makes sense. Shango saying sense. Yes. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And so, folks, I thank you so much for especially shout out to V, Dee Dee, Shango, Christy, the day ones, A1s who have been here for dang near every single live. Shout out to y'all. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's really, I'm so excited and happy for what we've been able to do here. The next situation that I would want to do, this is to be the season finale of the deep dives for right now. But the next thing that I want to do, particularly for y'all, is what I'm calling the master class. Because so far in each one of the deep dives and the lectures, and even the videos we get into some of the kits. But really what I want to do is just offer a free way for you to, so it'd be a free master class, and it'd be like a Sunday free master class. This is what I'm thinking. And we would just do it, on a weekly basis for, a certain season. But the point is that it would give you the chance to test out the technologies for yourself and in your own life. So we're talking about something that is beyond just, guided meditations. We're talking about something that trains your mind in a new way. And I like to do those live. And in a way that actually provides an experience. So we would do it, how I would, in my mind, how it's working is, it would literally be us coming together and training. And the training would essentially be a walkthrough. So you could think of them as guided meditations, except that what we're going to be covering is going to go beyond your typical guided meditation. And so that's what I want to do. And I think that we'll begin those experiences as soon as I have that really, cultivated and formulated. I would bring that to you. And one of the things that I would want to know is, does Sunday work for you? Especially for the folks in this room right now. Does Sunday work? I'm thinking Sunday at 6. So 6 Central. I'm sorry. Yes. So I was thinking like Sunday at 6 Central. And then they would go for like, half hour, 45 minutes, maybe to an hour, half hour sort of thing. We'd see how that first one goes. But what times work for you on Sunday? Somebody put in the chat, what hour of the day, if it's a 5 a.m., if it's a 6, anything between 6 and 8, whatever it is for you, let me know that so I can start planning that. Because the reason I do that, Shango, because Shango's saying here for that one, Sunday would be great. The reason I do that is because, Shango, I know that you're a busy man, and I know that you're kind of on the move as you're ingesting these lives. When it comes to the master class, I'm going to need you to be in the room, you dig, from start to finish. That's why we cannot do the master class on YouTube lives, right? Because somebody on a live, like how V was saying, a live might just pop up, or you know, YouTube might not, show the live to somebody, and they're kind of coming in or coming out, or somebody's the first time they're ever seeing the channel, and so they're jumping in for the first time. And if we're in the middle of a masterclass meditation, people might get the wrong impression. They might, and that doesn't. If we're deploying conscious transformation technologies, they're not going to get the full value out of it unless they start with us and end with us, right? So it's one of those things that we need to show up on time for, and then end on time for, because all of the conscious transformation technologies, as I keep trying to point out in the book, is if you get nothing else, they're all cumulative, right? So they build on one another. And so if you're only catching one, no problem, that'll give you a certain level of value. But the real value comes when you're tying them all together in a unique, basically a unique system. I want you to feel that. I want you to get into that level of mastery. Yes, get the book. The book will, and read the book. The book will explain will actually give you it'll actually give you, an experience of that system. And that's fantastic. The book that's like the deepest dive that currently exists. But beyond that, the masterclass allows us to do it together, right? The masterclass allows us to do it together, to get a sense and a feel for it together. And then it allows us to share our experiences with one another, right? So those would be, I'll basically put it in the community tab when those will start, and we'll get it popping that way. And basically there will be like a Calendly link or something, and you'll just sign up, you'll get on it, but it'll be completely free. But our point of the masterclasses is so that we can jump on together and start going. I want you to actually feel what I'm talking about. I don't want to just have some YouTube videos. I want you to feel what I'm talking about, because that's the value of what I'm talking about. The kits that we put in the videos, those are cool because they give you a small taste, but they in and of themselves are meant to give you a quick dopamine hit so that you go and watch another video and you start to learn that, oh wait, there's something here that's deeper than just regular motivational videos. Let me find out what that is. And so the book is finally out. People can learn that way. But in terms of the masterclass, this is something that I want to do for a season, and it's for y'all in this room. V says it likely. Oh, dang right. V's in Australia. So V's saying it likely will be Monday for me, but I am flexible so long as it's not nighttime here. Okay, so V, what time is it right now where you are? If you could put that in the chat, that'll be smooth. Okay, Shango saying 6 to 8, smooth. Okay, Christy's saying I can make Sundays work in the evenings. And the masterclass, how I see this is literally we're all gonna be on Zoom together. It'll be organized. Okay, it'll be organized, and so it's not like it's just gonna be cacophonous or anything like that. But it'll be basically like a weekly retreat. But that would be the next iteration of what we're talking about here. So V is saying it's 11:23 on Wednesday. Oh, it's on Wednesday. So that's crazy. That's kind of crazy. You say it's a Wednesday over there? Okay, so 11:23 a.m. on Wednesday. It's 8:23 in Austin, Texas, where I am. So if we were to back it up, about 2 hours, that would put us at 9 a.m. for you, V, on Monday. Okay, that kind of seems like something that would be a nice little refresher for the day. Little cool little liberator for the day. Just kind of get your mind right before you go into selling real estate. So what if we did like a 9 a.m. for UV in Australia? That would be for like 6. I need to write some of this stuff down. That would be like 6 p.m. for us in Texas, which would be 7 for you, DD, because it's 9:23 where you are. So that would be like 7 for you p.m. on a Sunday. Didi, does that work for you? Didi, I gotta know if that works for you. 7 p.m. because you're Eastern, Charlotte. So that 7 p.m. Okay, Didi, you said okay, yes. You don't sound super excited about that. All right, I need you to get excited. So you're saying okay, yes, or are you saying that's okay? Yes. You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you saying? You know what I'm saying? Does it work for you or not? Because we can work something else out. But I definitely gotta have my folks. And Christy, is that something that I can make Sundays work in the evenings? Christy, are you Chicago right now, or are you where are you? Are you Eastern or Pacific or Central? Because right now, Christy, throw that in the chat for me where you are. Because if we want to do 6 p.m. Central, I think that's something that can work. And so ultimately, what we would be doing is I would have that in the chat. I'm sorry, I would have that in the community tab. Put that out. Get some sort of ad over to you or something like this that would allow you to just basically reserve that time, get that scheduled in. Slim Sid's in the building. Welcome in, Slim. Okay. So Christy, you're Pacific. Um, Christy, you're Pacific. So that would mean you would be if we did at 6, you would be 4. Oh, does that work, Christy? 4 p.m. Not quite evening for you, but getting close. But getting close. Oh, you're in Reno. Oh, you're in Reno. Okay. Hmm. Let me know if 4 p.m. works, because I'm right now it seems like 6 o'clock is like the best because V is over there at 9 a.m. Her Monday, she said, are start at a slow speed anyway. It's perfect, excellent. Shango has 6 to 8. He's open. You know what I'm saying? Sounds like that's the time when he gets to lock into the man cave, and he can just kind of be with us. DD's saying yes, that works. Excellent. You remember my geographic? Okay, of course. Christy says Pacific. So that's the only thing is we're looking for a 4 p.m. If push came to shove, I want to do it live. So I don't want you, Christy, to have to like watch a replay. I'm not really interested in showing replays. I want you to be there live because I need to see how this serves you. I need to be able to see your reaction. And ultimately, when we're talking about new technology, particularly spiritual technologies, we're after two things: inner freedom and outer freedom. By the end of these master classes, you should be able to feel not only that inner peace, not only that great sense of inner freedom, you should also feel so capable of externalizing outer prosperity in a way that's unique to what you love, in a way that you love. You dig what I'm saying? We're getting at true freedom in these master classes. And so inner freedom and outer freedom. So I got to see that in real time. I have to see that transformation in real time. We'll go through our training together and then we'll kind of have our conversation afterwards. But that is something that, one, lectures are great, but I want to give you tools so that you can go into your life ready. Go into your life living it the way that you came to live it. And so that's my vibe. That's what I'm on with these master classes. When you want to date, Kamar Wheeler, sorry we're late. Kamar and Kabayas are better known as the Wheeler twins. Is this Eastern Standard? Kamar Wheeler, welcome in. Uh, oh, interesting. Okay. Is this? Eastern Standard. So we would do 6 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. I'm sorry, 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern. Okay, so Shango, I think that should cover you as well. Are you? Please tell me, Shango, that you're Eastern. You know what I'm saying? If I imagine where Shango is, I do imagine it being somewhere like like a Maryland. You know what I'm saying? So Shango, if I'm right about that, then we're good. But let me know where you are because I definitely have to have you in there. Um, and so Kamar, um, if you and Kobayas want to come through, we're looking at 6 p.m. Sundays Central, 7 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. I'm sorry, 4 p.m. Pacific, and of course 9 a.m. Australian time. So, oh, Shango, you are Central. Okay, so six. So you with me? You with me? You with me? Okay, so Kobayas is saying perfect. 6 p.m. works. Excellent, excellent. You said KC. Shango, what's KC, bruh? You mean Kentucky? Is Kentucky Central? No, maybe they are. Okay, so what we would do, just to kind of put a beautiful stamp on this, we're talking about inner freedom and outer freedom. That's true freedom. You see, when I started writing the book. By the way, if you don't have this, go ahead and get your order in now, and then read the book. Yes, it helps so much if you come already having read, you know. But when I started writing it, I was like, okay, I hear a lot of people talking about success and manifestation, and then I hear a lot of people talking about inner peace, but it seems that nobody's ever bridged the gap and made them like shared the link between the two, shared the link between establishing inner peace and manifesting the reality you want, right? Like, yes, you could go into talking about inner peace and the power of now, which is a wonderful book. Actually, interesting. Well, I'll get to that story another time. But the power of now, which is a wonderful book, it talks about how to access inner peace. Eckhart Tolle is not going to go and start talking about manifestation. He may have in later years, but that's its own deal. Neville Goddard talked a lot about manifestation, but the tools for inner peace, the tools for walking around calmly, those sort of, I found those to be, I found that those weren't as abundant in Goddard's work, because Goddard is talking about all these other, he's breaking down Christianity in this wonderful way, right? He's got his plate full. So it takes other folks, other voices to come through and say, oh, yo, you know what? He's right and he's right. Let's turn this into a single system. Let's turn all of these elements into something that people can use and do in fractions of a second. Fractions of a second. Yes, to begin, we'll train just like you had to learn how to your alphabet and all of those things. But after that, let's do it in fractions of a second. Fractions of a second to get you back to peace. Fractions of a second to get you back to prosperity consciousness and back to abundance thinking. Fractions of a second. I'm talking about boom, boom, boom. I think of these as a martial art. As I've been explaining, and kind of hinting at, I'm a person who's trained in the martial art for 10 years. And when you do that, 12, 13, whatever, when you do that, you're learning how to systematize movement. And when you get really, really good at it, the technique shows itself at the appropriate time. There's no thinking about it. I'm saying let's bring that same systematization to our spiritual practice, such that when something happens in the external world, or what we call the external world, which is really just another part of us, we have the appropriate loving response. We know exactly what to do to get back to peace, or to turn the situation into what we would have it. We know exactly how to take spiritual responsibility or super responsibility over our entire reality. We're not blaming anybody else for anything else. Not parents, not what somebody else did, not an ex, not none of that. All the perpetrators disappear. We return to the pure source of God within. That's what I'm talking about. That's what the masterclass series is going to be about. It's going to be completely free, of course. And V just ordered the book. Look forward to reading it. V, definitely let me know what you think. Okay, so 4 p.m. Thank you, V, DD. See, now this is what I'm talking about. This is why I love DD. She says 4 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern, and 11 a.m. Australian. Exactly right. So just having that written down, DD, is super helpful because I'm like, oh yeah, let me just scroll back and if y'all don't know, the master class is going to be 4 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. DD, thank you. I love you. So, oh, Kansas City. KC is Kansas City. You're Kansas City, Kamar? Or, Kamar, are you saying on behalf of Shango? That's what KC means, Kansas City. That's cute. Okay. Okay, so V saying just order the book. V, let me know what you think because I can't wait for you to experience. The whole point of this channel, dude, was to just share the book. You know, because you can't just write a book these days and be like, yo, I got a book. Ain't nobody, you know, you have to do other sorts of things. And so uh, by the time you finally get that copy in your hands, I love to see what you do with it. Dee saying, Dr. Shawn, will you post the link after the live to the masterclass? Oh, Dee. Oh, Dee, if I was only that, you know, the thing about it, I want to have it built out first. So the master class, I'm going to get it to you, Didi, one way or another, because I'm going to either put it in the community tab and then I'm going to also be, doing the, I'm going to get the message over to you. So don't worry about that. It's going to get there. But that link, once you do have that link, you'll go ahead and sign up and then that'll be available. Okay, so V is saying, I've been playing with Neville's revision technique. Now I can do it on the fly, and I always see change reflected within hours, especially for a relationship. It works wonders. This is beautiful. So V is already telling you that she's been demonstrating, she's been using training with spiritual technologies, right? The revisionist, or the revision technique, rather. And now she can do it on the fly. You notice that every skill is just like this. Why would we not cultivate the skills and the habits of consciousness, the skills and habits of mind that allow us to get what we want? That's like the missing curriculum from all universities, from like all of them. Like we have some types of things in psychological modalities, and you could talk about holistic psychology and Gestalt psychology and different things like this, but most of these are starting from a framework, from a thesis, a grounding logic that excludes God, that does not have consciousness at its core. And what I'm saying is that transcendent psychology places consciousness back into our very systems of meaning, back into our very habits of running and operating the mind. And so now when we begin to train in transcendent psychology, we begin to access something that's far beyond any intellectual outcome whatsoever. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, so Kamar, no, we're in Pennsylvania, and yes, on behalf of Kamar, then that's very kind. That's very sweet of you. Thank you so much for clarifying that. Okay, so V, love the application aspect of the teachings. All here for it. DD, direct link for the book also. Now, DD, that is in the link. That is in the description. My fault on that. The link for the book is in the description. So you can go and click on that. That's available right now. It's in the description of every video and should be there going forward. So you'll always be able to find that in the description. Okay. Christy saying, love that V. Neville's work is powerful. Oh, it's so powerful. It's so powerful. You could understand Neville Goddard's work. And this dude popped into my life like 2020, like right at the time that I needed him. You know what I'm saying? Because I understood the inner peace stuff, but I didn't really see the link to the manifestation stuff. And then he made that very clear. And it was like, oh, okay, this is for real, for real. And then having used it, having seen results, I was like, oh my gosh, why is this not how we do psychology? Why is this not how we do the mind? So, and frankly, because Neville Goddard is really writing like 100 years ago. I think that you could understand the entire self-development curriculum. There are so many different pivots that happen. And to me, if I read the work of Neville Goddard and then I go and read the work of Tony Robbins, they're saying the same stuff. It's just that Neville was saying it from the religious canon, which would have been very popular 100 years ago, of Christianity, the religious doctrine. He was breaking that down into a psychological symbolism that people could understand. And then somewhere in the 70s, we get this turn with Maxwell Maltz, who's talking about cybernetic, um, like cybernetic psychology. Matter of fact, let me Google that right quick, because I know that's Maxwell Maltz was like this. He was a surgeon, you know, and psychocybernetics, right? So he's talking about the mind in these sorts of ways that really indicate faith, indicate the process that what we see, we become, what we focus on, we become. That sets the stage for people like Jim Rohn. And of course, Jim Rohn becomes the mentor to Tony Robbins. And when you read Awaken the Giant Within, every single thing inside of the Awaken the Giant Within is really a scientific approach to what Neville Goddard had already stated, which would have been 60, 70 years prior. And so these ideas, they continue to circulate, they change form, and they change and shift with the predominant thinking, right? And so in the era of psychology, one thing that wouldn't have been popular at the time that Neville Goddard is writing, psychology wouldn't have been necessarily invented as a full science yet, right? William James would have been coming on the scene, probably would have been on the scene for maybe 10 years, something like this, right? William James, often considered the father of, Western psychology. And so the field of psychology wouldn't have been as developed as it is today. And so as that field develops, obviously the self-help, the things that are pushed into the popular lexicon, they are built around that model of psychology that is entrenched in, I should say, ensconced in Western science, right? And so Psycho-Cybernetics is one of the first, lovely attempts. It's a great book, but you can see how that sets the stage for people who would later become Tony Robbins. And then of course later, I don't know who's popular right now. Joe Dispenza, these other kinds of dudes who are talking about the exact same stuff, but they're putting it into a way that is scientific so that it doesn't sound, or rather they're putting it into a way that is in alignment with the canon of psychology, of Western psychology, as opposed to anything else. So I hope that wasn't too much of a diatribe. V found the book on Amazon. Excellent. Neville was the real deal. Okay, gone around the block with all sorts of things. He's the one that made sense and spoke the truth because he speaks so simply. He speaks so simply. That's what it is. Bob Proctor. Yes. Reverend Ike. Then Neville. And now Dr. Shawn. Oh, that's so sweet. Yeah, but all of those dudes, Joseph Murphy and Neville, had the same teacher, Abdullah. I did not know that. He was a rabbi. Oh, that's great. He knew who he was. That's beautiful. Yolanda is saying, inner peace, we have to do our work. That's right. We have to do our work. What else do you just get into and start getting busy with? Like you, if you wanted to be an auto mechanic, you don't just, I heard Kevin Samuels say this. If you wanted to be an auto mechanic, I think it was Kevin Samuels, but he was like, if you wanted to be an auto mechanic, you don't just, it wasn't Kevin Samuels, it was someone else. Anyway, he was like, if you want to be an auto mechanic, you don't just jump under the hood and start getting to work, right? You go and learn the systems, you go and build the skills, you go and learn the techniques, and then you deploy those in order to do and operate the machines. Why would we take any other approach to our minds? Like, 14 years of education. And listen, I got the students for years after they came through the K through 12 educational system for years, right? As instructor in the university, professor at, these colleges. You know what's missing. There's nothing on regulating the mind. There's nothing on understanding the mind. Psychology helps, but psychology doesn't often teach its techniques to students, right? Like, if you ever took AP Psych in high school, you're really getting the theory of psychology. You're not getting its praxis, its practice, its practical application. And so, even that model, when it's taught to students who are ready and willing to learn it, it becomes insufficient education because people just aren't going there. They're not taking the time to deploy and develop the systems in such a way that they can give it to someone else and have them access it wonderfully. So, anyways, you already know what time I'm on. You already know what time I'm on. I'm on this system of training. It yields the only fruits that you care about. What we talk, it's the only fruits that we care about. We're talking about going back to God and making it a habit. Making it a habit, not only just to go back to God, but to live from that position, to live from that place. Make it a habit. That's what we're talking about. And whatever it takes in order to do that, it tends to be like my love. It's like my love for living is simply to grow and grow and grow closer to God. That's all. That's all. And so anything that I can do that helps me to do that and to experience that, not talking about just having it. We're going beyond the intellect with this masterclass. These conscious transformation technologies, we're going beyond the intellect. By the way, I did not invent conscious transformation technologies. I invented the term, but conscious transformation technologies are the system of spiritual devices that allow us to achieve 3 outcomes. Allow us to experience supreme awareness, claim it as our identity, then allow us to step into the productive potentiality of the Idon mind, then allow us to create from that place of peace that which we love. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. We're just putting all of the most relevant transformation technologies, conscious transformation technologies, into a single system that can be utilized by anybody. And that you get so good at that you're just doing it at will. I cannot wait for you to experience what I'm talking about. If you've seen some of the videos, especially some of the, the top, everything that we've covered so far in the deep dive, most of those have had conscious transformation technologies in them. You're getting a sense, you're getting a taste. But what you don't get from a video, because I only got 6 minutes, what you don't get is the full system. And so as we take time to identify that, to step into that full system, to utilize that full system and bring it into our experience. You heard Dr. Umar Johnson on the channel the other day. He was like, listen, religion, nothing wrong with the beliefs, but the belief ain't God. What we're talking about is being able to experience God. Dr. Johnson said, you must experience God. Say what you want. You must experience God. That's all I care about. We're talking about going beyond the intellect. What I say earlier today, quoting Rupert Spira, I said, real thinkers don't think. Real thinkers don't think. What's that mean? It means they've gone beyond thought. And so now when they return to thought, they return with an intelligence and a gravity that is far beyond thought. And so they can make thought, they can communicate their thoughts very simply, but the thoughts that get communicated are so powerful because they are impregnated from that which is beyond normal human reason. It'll make sense, but it's still beyond normal human reason. That's what I'm talking about. Something that's satisfying to me is it makes intellectual sense and I can see the divinity in it. It makes spiritual sense. I like it that it makes intellectual sense, but it also makes spiritual sense. If I could only have one, I'll take the spiritual sense. That's the truth. But I like it when it makes intellectual sense and it makes spiritual sense. That's just me. That's just me. GD saying my book should be here Friday. I definitely want to know what you think, DD, because I'm Can I say this? You know, can I say this? I remember finishing up the final chapters, and I went out, to grab some drinks or whatever with my buddy, uh, and I was telling him, I was like, "Yo, I he's a musician," and I was like, "Yo, when's the last time you wrote your favorite song?" You see that? Like, when's the last time you sat down at the keyboards or the guitar and you wrote your song that is your favorite song, better than any Michael Jackson song you've ever heard, better than any Beyonce song you've ever heard? Not in the sense that it's technically better, but just in the sense that it's your favorite song. You love it more. And he was like, "Oh man, I don't know if I ever did that before." I kid you not, bro. I was like, "Listen, I feel like I just wrote my favorite book that I've ever read." Not in the sense that it's better than somebody. We're not talking about comparison like that. I'm only saying for me, I just feel like I just wrote my favorite book. I've never had that experience before with writing. I've written a lot. There's like 10,000 hours likely of writing. There's or very close to it. Certainly of reading. Certainly, like this is, but never had that experience before. So I'm super excited to see how you experience the book, because that's what it is. It's meant to be an experience. Each one of the videos that you come to, they need to feel like an experience. The day you just feel like, man, I just saw a video on YouTube, that's the day that y'all need to put that in the comments and be like, "Hey, Dr. Shawn, I'm gonna need you to step your love game up. I'm gonna need you to come to the video with more love." Because in the end, beyond systems and books and anything else I can offer you, the only thing I have that's of value is my love for you. In the end. And so if you see a video one day and you're like, "Man, this ain't it, bruh," like, get in the comments and say, "Hey, man, I need you to come back with that love thing." "Yeah, but I need you to come back with that love thing." "Oh, I know you were busy, but come back with that love thing, please." By you doing that, you serve me, because you remind me that the point of this is love. The point of this is love. And so when it comes to talking about this book, talk about an experience that I love to create. I loved it so much that I was like, man, I might have to start a YouTube channel just to get people to understand how much I love talking about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was like that. So as you come to this, it's a deeper experience, yes, but you'll see so much in it that I cannot utter in enough time. Since the time I started this live to the time to right now, if we took all of that and transcribed it into a single pamphlet or book, it'd be like 15 pages, which you could have read in 20 minutes. But a book where I'm sitting with each page for days and cultivating and crafting and just having this joyous experience. I would argue I'm better at writing than I am at speaking. Getting people to that experience of the book is its own thing, especially in a culture where, cats read. I heard people buy books, they don't read books. This is what one of my, I have a coach who's like, he founded a company that you would know and all this. And he was like, "Look, bro, like, man, people gonna buy the book, but they don't read the book." I was like, "Yo, people have to read it. Like, they have to read it. You have to read it." But beyond my personality, what I'm saying? If I'm coming from my personality, if I'm coming from my God self, it's simply a love offering. It's simply a love offering. Christy saying, "Awesome, Didi, just ordered myself." Okay, Christy. Christy showing off in here. Yolanda Poti has just put hearts. That's hearts. Oh, Didi's saying, "Wow, I can relate because I'm an artist and a songwriter." I didn't know that. Okay, Didi, I didn't know that. Well, when you're ready, maybe you'll share a little bit of that, of what you're working on and what, the things that you love to do. As a matter of fact, I will go ahead and say this, since this is our last deep dive. Obviously, when we get into the master class, and just, if you had to know the master class, I'm going to put that in the community tab. We'll be checking back in. Of course, the video uploads will continue. But as I develop out that master class, I'll have the date, the time, all of that stuff set so that you're able to just jump into the link, and we're able to kind of to just go like that. And so you don't that's gonna I'll find you, basically. Don't even trip. I'll find you. But as we're talking about this, I started thinking today, as you know, my everyday experience is to be able to identify love and how it wants to manifest within myself. To be able to await love's yes to whatever it is that I need to do, and then just go do that thing. So I'm laying on the couch. It's midday. It's probably noon. I pick up a book. I really love Sanaya Roman's and Oren's book. Oh gosh, it's called Living with Joy. So fantastic. Yeah, I mean that's a book. If you haven't read Sanaya Roman's work, please, like just please. It's so her work is so fantastic. But I'm reading today, and she had this thing where she said, listen, inside of she writes, she's a channeler, right? So she like, her whole thing is like, her marketing pitch is kind of like, she channels a spirit named Oren, and that spirit is what has her write these words. I'm not saying that that's not true. I'm not saying anything. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying that whatever's in them books is off the chain, and you need to read it. Her stuff is incredible. Matter of fact, we should just start a book club. Her stuff is incredible. Whoever's writing it, if it's a spirit, cool. Whoever's writing it. Anyway, she starts talking today, and she was like, listen, there's so much in your culture, in the current global world culture, that has to do with guilt, that has to do with, people being like so much pressure to perform, to do things quickly. And she was saying, when it comes to finding your higher purpose, because that's all I'm about right now these days. I mean, forever. I only care about doing what I love, to the exclusion of everything else. And so I'm reading her. She was like, what if, she asked this question. She said, what if nothing you did was going to help anybody, and it wasn't going to hurt anybody? She said, what if nothing you did was going to help anybody or hurt anybody? Then what would bring you peace and joy? And so, okay, interesting. As a spiritual scholar, I take that, and then I go and apply it across a few different contexts. I'm like, okay, let's apply this both to life purpose. Let's apply that one question to life purpose. Let's apply that same question to life's work, right? Your life's purpose is what you came to do. Your life's work is like how you manifest the doing of it. And then your life's joy, like what brings you the most joy. So she's asked this question. I'm going to apply it across three different spectrums of life, three different spectrums of reality of human existence. And then whatever we come up with, that becomes something that could be helpful for somebody else, right? That question, which is powerful, comes from Sanaya Roman. I could use it. Okay, we could. I could use it to ask three different sorts of questions. If nothing you did, somebody put that in the chat for me. I'm super curious. What would you do if nothing that you did was going to help anybody or hurt anybody? So often we get into this thing where we say, hey, look, man, what do you love to do? And people are like, oh, man, I just love to help people. I was just asking Felicity about this. What do you love to do? And she's such a, Felicity has such a heart of service. She's really a beautiful person. I want you will get to meet her at one point if you kick it for long enough. But, she was like, I just like helping people. That's kind of always her go-to. And so when that question that Sanaya Roman has asked in the book, the joy, living with joy, it interrupts that. You can't just say I love to help people. Now you got to get specific. What would you do? Put it in the chat. What would you do? What would your life purpose be? You can think of it. What would you do? What would bring you joy and peace if nothing that you did was going to help anybody or hurt anybody? I started asking myself that question. I was like, oof. Because so often, like, why do I want to get conscious transformation technologies to people? Because I don't want people dealing with depression. I don't want people dealing with inferiority complex. I don't want people dealing with overthinking. I don't want you're right. You're trying to heal people. Okay, what if that didn't matter? What if it didn't matter? Now it gets me excited. I don't find that nihilistic. I don't find that to be, when I say nihilistic, I mean, so self-defeating and ultimately, canceling out all joy. I don't see it as that. I see it as a joyful way to approach the conversation on love. What would you do hmm, if what would you do if nothing you did was going to help anybody or hurt anybody? So it's not just, oh, I would just provide for my family. What if that didn't help anybody? Right? So when you take out the help, you take out the what you're going to give or how someone else is going to look at you. That's really what it is. When I think about how, so what you want to give typically is attached to a thought of how other people will look at you. If you take all that out, then what gives you joy and love? I asked myself that question and came up with three answers. I asked myself that question and came up with three answers. I asked myself that question and came up with three answers. For me, because the work, this spiritual work has to continue. So that's like all I do all day. I mean, all day, right? I don't do anything else. So I mean, I do some video stuff and I'm saying stuff, but that's it. So, but I asked myself that question. And I was like, okay, number one, life's purpose. Only God can bring me the peace and joy that I would want, the happiness and peace and joy that I would want. When you stand as supreme awareness, that alone is the only thing that is going to bring you eternal peace and joy and happiness. Sat Chit Ananda. Peace, joy, happiness, love, right? It's the only thing that's going to bring you all of those things. They are very qualities of consciousness. They're who you are. Therefore, if there was nothing else to do, only God would matter. If I wasn't going to help anybody, nothing I did was going to help anybody, then my life's purpose is to develop in consciousness, which is just another way of saying to be with God. That's it. That's it. There's what in the story. What else are we talking about? That's life purpose. I'm very clear on that. That's life's purpose. My life's purpose. That's it. That's it. Simple. You don't have to. We don't have to. All of the philosophy that I was asking at 18 when I was reading, you know, I don't know who. I mean, who was philosophy you're reading at 18? I mean, maybe you're getting into the Christian mystics. Maybe you're getting into Kant. Certainly you're getting into Descartes for the first time, right? You're getting into these people. All these philosophers, wondering about the purpose of life, the nature of reason, and all this. Oh, hey. Very simple, man. Very simple. God is the purpose. Very simple. V said read that a year ago. Very lovely, excellent. Yeah, I mean that in grad school, we're reading a book a day for years, literally. Some people try and skip and skim and all that, but I always make sure to do the reading. So fortunately, I learned how to speed read, and so that allowed me to do a few different things. But anyway, um, the you're reading a book a day. So at these days, I'm like, yo, give me one book, and I'm gonna sit with that one book, or maybe it's two or three or four books for a year. That way I get to go so deeply into one book. Within one book, I'll find a continent of knowledge. If you're just reading a book every day, that's cool if you've never done it before. But if you've been doing it, it's like, oh, okay, like let me go deeply into one book. So I go back and just keep rereading and keep rereading and keep rereading. I'll read the same sentence over and over and over again, 5011 ways on 5011 days. And then all of a sudden, oh, the thing that I've never seen before shows itself. And that's the unlock. That's the beauty. That's the beauty. So, okay, life's purpose is God. Great. What would be life's work then? If there was no, if nothing that I did was Shango saying I wouldn't change. Excellent. Fire, fire, Hunter, Hunter. Christy saying I love this question. Have to really think about it. Yeah, yeah. It could be a journal question for the evening. It could be a journal question for the evening. By the way, in the masterclass, we will have some version of journal questions, but we're gonna. I think we'll have time to kind of work a bit of that out in sort of a small group discussion. So we'll be on for that. Um, and anyway, so but if I'm thinking about it, okay, what would be life's work then? If nothing that you did was going to help anybody or hurt, it's not just then what? Were I to allow my mind to travel into that universe where there's just no helping anybody or hurting anybody, just whatever, then the only thing that would matter is what I love. So for me, it would be writing things that I love, creating things that I love, be it a video, whatever else. It would just be creating what I love. If it didn't matter to that person, or it's not going to matter to this person, or, if it's not going to help anybody, then let me just do what I love. That would be life's work. And literally that's all I do every day, you know? And then number three would be, I said, life's joy. The third piece of this, if you weren't going to help anybody or hurt anybody, then the next piece would be to abide in love with other people. Right? When you're hanging out, maybe you're on a cruise, you're on the beach with your people, you're on the beach with your friends, you're on the beach with your family, you're just kicking it. You're not thinking about, am I helping somebody? Am I helping the world? You're just with your people. You're just abiding in love with people. That's it. Those would be the three things. And you notice that growing in consciousness, which is another way of saying growing in love, doing what you love, doing what I love, that's love. So it would actually be doing what I love the way that I love it, right? So it would be doing what I love with love, right? I would need to be in love as I'm doing it. That's the most important part. And then third, abiding in love with people. Love is at the cornerstone of all of those initiatives. In other words, you could understand that love is the service that you would offer to anyone. At its purest form, love is the service. It is the help that you would offer. If you were not going to help anyone or hurt anyone, then love is the only thing that would make sense for you to do. And now returning back to the world where you can help somebody, love becomes the very thing that you would help them with. Not in the sense that you're going to help them learn how to love or any of this, but just in the sense that your love for what you do is the transformative agent. It is the chemical compound, so to speak. You call it the spiritual compound, so to speak, that transforms that person. Or rather returns that person back to its source, which is love. You dig? Which is God, you understand, which is supreme awareness, consciousness, this inner peace. You get what I'm saying? That's how that works. And so I was like, yo, man, Sanai, man, that's a cold question. And applied across those three areas, love becomes the point. Why spend time doing anything else? And so, yes, because I loved working on this so much, it doesn't even, like, yes, I don't want you just to get the book. I want you to read it. But I told you, love was the payment and the price. I've said before that love was the payment and the price. In other words, love is the thing that I paid in order to create this thing. But love is also the payment I get for having created this thing. You understand? That's the point. And so I love that question, stepping out of what would you do if you weren't going to help anybody. I kind of I dig living in that. Because sometimes we get so much in our head and we start thinking about, okay, what's going to help this person, what's going to help this person. And we can get so much focused on creating an outcome for somebody else that we forget to handle our own stuff. And I got news for you. If I haven't handled my own stuff, I ain't going to be no good to you. Period. But if I've handled my own stuff with love and that which I offer you is loving, oh, then I think you'll find something that is transformative beyond belief. Not because I wanted it to be that way, but simply because this is the way of love. This is its nature, to bring you back to that God consciousness. This is its nature, to bring you back to that God consciousness. Remember, we are spiritual beings having a human experience. You've heard that before. I'm saying we are all just you, and you alone are God. And so after all the bodies fall away, and after all the planets disappear, and after the universe fades into nothing, and after the new universe is created and that one fades into nothing, after all these things come and go, come and go, come and go, there's still only God. And so nobody's actually getting, like, the idea of help or hurt is a part of a story that we're telling ourselves about human existence. But the essential nature of reality is never hurt or helped. You cannot come closer to God. You cannot harm or benefit God in any way. You cannot detract or take away from God in any way. There's only the God essence. So in other words, by living in a way that you're doing what you love, not because it's going to help somebody, but simply because you love it, that's truer to reality. That's truer to reality. I'm quite sure there are other beings across the universe who are much smarter than human beings. We can see like in the third or fourth dimensions. They can see in fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, and 11th dimensions. Okay, great. But I don't care how many dimensions you can see in. The truth is still the truth. However much you can see of it, the truth is still the truth. And so this God consciousness, this love that I'm talking about, it's the essential truth for those beings as much as it is for us. There's only one being, and that's the God being. Therefore, to live from that perspective, which is the only real perspective, what we are doing is living in alignment with reality, with the truth. We're living in alignment with the truth. Somebody put yes in the chat if you're understanding. Shango saying transcend this life. Slim says that's interesting, sitting on one book to digest. Kamar says state of being. Shango saying yes. Excellent. I do want to leave you with this with this one story. Kamar saying yes. I want to leave you with this one story. This is insane. I will say this, and then our deep dive ended like an hour ago, so I don't even know how we still up on here. But we had to get to the masterclass stuff and that sort of stuff. But there's a story that I wanted to share, and it has to do with the Miss Deep Dive. There's one deep dive, as we do our deep dives Tuesday, 7 Central, 8 Eastern, every Tuesday, right? That's been the general trajectory. Of course, this is the season finale, and so we'll move on to our masterclass, shortly. Next, Christy saying yes, excellent. And so, but if you go back and look at all the lives, you'll see that there's one Tuesday that's missing. And again, it was my birthday, you know what I'm saying? So, my birthday, we jumped out the plane some years ago. Now this birthday was even crazier. And so there's this part about love that I have to explain. So here's what happened. Story time. So it's my birthday, February 21st. If you go back and look at the deep dives, February 21st this year was on a Tuesday. I was supposed to come and speak with y'all that night, but I never made it because of what I'm about to tell you. And so you'll notice that next deep dive didn't happen until Was that Thursday or Wednesday or something? It was some days later. At any rate, what had happened was I went. It's my birthday. I wake up, and so I'm doing what I typically would do. I'm grab some food right quick. I'm get on the computer and do a little bit of work. Probably was trying to make a video for that week or whatever. Of course I'm asking my questions about love and this sort of thing, and those questions sit with me all day, and they guide me to what I need to be doing next. And so it's the middle of the day, maybe 12, 1, something like this. And so we're getting kind of hungry. And so we live downtown. So we just go ahead and walk down to the water in Austin. You'll know that there's like this waterway that cuts through the city. And, so we walk down to this place on Rainy Street, which is, down the street. Grab some eats, grab some food, new place we wanted to try. We had dinner reservations that night. Low key, no issue. Beautiful sunny day, you know what I'm saying? It's Austin, Texas. Of course, we love it. Cool. We go in, we grab some food, nice conversation, just me and Felicity. And as we're coming back out, I see a truck, a truck that's got like mushrooms on it and stuff. I'm not a drug person. I don't do drugs. I don't do mushrooms and all this other stuff. Really, no reason for a truck to be selling mushrooms. I did not do mushrooms that day, but I went to the truck and I was like, let me just get some, I was looking for some like CBD oil. You know what I'm saying? I do, a little bit of CBD oil or whatever. It's my birthday, you know what I'm saying? Go nuts, you know what I'm saying? Just do a little bit of CBD that kind of gets you like, whatever. It's like having, a drink of alcohol or something like this. It's not meant to take you to another level and another place, right? But anyway, so we're at this truck, and this is the story that I promised to tell you on episode 2 of the deep dive, or episode 3 of the deep dives, and we're just now getting to it as we finish season 1. And so we're at this truck, and the lady keeps telling me, "Oh yeah, we got CBD oil, and yeah, we also got some mushrooms over here too." It's a food truck, bro, like on Rainy Street, and I'm like, I don't really know how you can, say about the mushrooms and stuff, but cool. Just give me the CBD, right? And she's like, okay, well, we got these gummies. And I was like, oh, y'all got like CBD gummies? Oh, that's cool. You know what I'm saying? Let me go ahead and get some of those. So she gives us the gummies. And, the gummies look a lot like hard pills. And so I was like, okay, well, let me go ahead and suck on these. Okay. I'm waiting for the effect to come through. And the effect doesn't come through after the first gummy. So I was like, oh shoot, it must be a lower dosage. Let me just go ahead, and just finish up these gummies right here. There's like 5 of them. And I eat these gummies like within 5 minutes. All of these gummies, they're not gummies, they're like hard things, right? Yeah, but this is my responsibility to be looking at what I'm doing. Like, you know what I'm saying? I've got nobody to blame here. And let me continue. And so I'm walking back, and we finally get back to the house, and everything's cool. It's all copacetic. I'm just waiting to go to dinner. My favorite place, downtown, is about to be incredible. And so, I'm thinking, let me get a little work done. So I start doing a little editing on the book. And as I'm reading in the book, the words stop making sense. I was like, oh boy, this is a problem. And so as I'm reading, the words stop making sense. They start kind of jumbling up together and becoming like blocks. And I was like, dang, man. And so I called a Felicity in the room, and I was like, hey, something's going on. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what the deal is, but what did I take? And one thing you have to know about me, as I talk about in the book, you're right, I was trained by a Taoist mystic. I call him the teacher in the book. But one of the things that we did was we worked so much on meditation together that we could leave our bodies. We could, do outer body experiences and that sort of thing. And so I've got dozens and dozens of outer body experiences, and those are amazing for what they are. the point of the Taoist meditations is to become so grossly aware of not just your what's happening inside of you. I'm talking about your heartbeat, your blood flow, what they call chi or internal energy, the flow of that throughout or basically your nervous system's energy throughout the flow of your body as it circulates. But not only that, the subtleties of your own mind, being able to detect when something is bothering you, the moment it's bothering you, and what's at the heart of that, right? So you're becoming like more and more aware of your being at the grossest levels. That kind of awareness lends itself to outer body experiences, what you could call astral projection. You'll hear people talk about this. That stuff is very real, and it just takes some training to be able to do it properly. I would argue that you do it every night when you go to sleep anyway. And so knowing that, that's just a way to understand the level of training that I have with understanding what's happening inside of my body, right? So I can tell, ooh, it's like coming back to me actually. The memory's coming back to me. I can tell what's happening as more and more of this agent that I've eaten back on my birthday, as it's seeping more and more into my bloodstream. So I can feel when the my digestive system is releasing more and more of this agent into my bloodstream, which is causing for me to have a psychoactive experience. I can sense every single time my experience, my lucidity just starts, and my sanity starts going lower and lower. And so stuff started getting crazy. I walk into the room and I'm like, hey, Felicity, why don't we just go ahead and get in the car and go to the hospital right quick? I don't like going to the hospital, but I was like, hey, Brad, like, let me go ahead and get up out of here. And she was like, oh, well, you've taken THC, about 150 milligrams. Now, remember, THC is the psychoactive compound within marijuana, like cannabis. Um, I don't smoke, right? Like rarely would smoke marijuana, right? Maybe if I'm in Seattle with my family, you know what I'm saying? But what? So I have no tolerance. So 150 milligrams apparently is a lot to regular smokers. So for me, it was really ridiculous. And the very fact that my training is in understanding what's happening inside of my body, oh, I started having, you can almost say, a psychological allergic reaction to this THC. So it ended up feeling like ayahuasca. And as a person who's been out of the body many, 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 many times, and it's fantastic. Like I told you about skydiving, being astral projecting is just like that, except there's not as much wind. There's no wind actually, but it's the same feelings, it's the same, all of it's the same. But in these experiences, there was no, the outer body experiences, when you go through it with meditation, you're in control. But in a psychoactive experience, that control is gone. That the experience is simply coming to you. And so, ooh, what happened was I told Felicity, hey, look, let's go to the hospital, you know what I'm saying? And she was like, listen, you took some THC, and one of the side effects is paranoia. And once she said that, she was like, so I'm not going to take you to the hospital. Dude, once she said that, the walls started caving in. I started seeing the walls coming in. And at that point, I was like, ooh, boy. It would be one thing if I had asked for the experience, signed up for the experience, you know what I'm saying? It's another thing that just by my own folly, I had ingested something I didn't. You're not supposed to take all those gummies at one time, right? So it's like you're getting hit with this over and over again, right? So anyway, the walls are coming in, and I was like, all right, if you're not going to take me, I got to take myself. So I start walking toward the door. And by the way, I'm like taking off clothing, like, you know what I'm saying? Because if the walls are closing in, I'm like, yo, I don't want to feel restricted, right? So I'm taking off clothing. And so I'm dang near in my drawers by the door. This is like, getting to be too TMI, but it's all good because it has a point at the end. And Felicity's like, listen, you have to trust me. it's gonna be all right, right? And so for whatever reason, I'm about to walk out the front door and I'm ready to like, you know, get out the front door by any means necessary, right? Because I'm freaking out. And so I was about to go out the door, then I was like, just take a seat. And so I have a seat on my couch, and one of the things that happens is, and this is so crazy, like as I sit on the couch, if I close my eyes, I'm in this. It's an outer body experience, but it's an internal body. It's like it's an inner body sort of experience where I can see all of these realities shifting, constantly folding into one another. I can see and feel dying 1,000 times, maybe 1,000,000 times, right? All kinds of explosions, all kind, just almost like these violent, just it was insane inside, right? And then if I open my eyes, like I'm in the regular room, but there's like a weird red tint to the room. So I would be able to be, if I had tried to come on live that night, I would have been able to be here, but it would have been looking weird. And so I'm in this situation, and I was like, yo, this feels like the dark night of the soul. We're about to, like, whatever, we had to cancel dinner. Whatever you wanted to have happen to you, whatever you wanted to do tonight, God has seen that this other experience is here, and you're gonna have to go through it. And we don't. And the thing is that with this with this psychoactive compound, you don't know when it's going to cycle through your body, but every so often, every 20 minutes, I could feel myself moving lower and lower into greater and greater depths of psychosis. So I'm having a panic attack in a sort of psychotic episode at the same time. And so I was like, yo, this is outrageous. I close if I try to get, some rest or close my eyes, I would just see this light show. This light show just, it was like a ball of light just pulsing, 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 pulsing. And if I tried to think of somebody that I loved, I wouldn't just see that person one time. I'd see them 1,000 times, and every single version of them is a different version. One of those versions is a nice person. The other person is not a nice person. Is an unkind person, right? And each one of these people are saying things, and so I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm just getting overwhelmed, right? And I'm like, yo, this is outrageous. Like, what am I gonna do here? And then all of a sudden, like, I started thinking about love. You see that? I started thinking about love. And love brought me back. It was as if every time the THC would hit my bloodstream in a new way, I would fall deeper and deeper, almost like being in a room, and then you're falling through to, level one, and then you're falling through the floor another level, then through the floor again, and then through the floor again, and then through the floor again. And at some point you're looking up and you're like, how am I going to get back? And there was only one way to do it. I had to start sending love to every single negative thought that I was having. And that love brought me back. So at the height, or would you say at the depth of all of that psychotic experience, once I was there, I started sending love. I started sending love. You'll remember a few weeks ago, I told you about being in a martial arts situation where I was grappling with a guy, and I started sending him love in order to escape the situation, right? In order to not escape the situation, but in order to calm my mind down so that I could make the necessary movements in order to adjust the situation to what I needed it to be. And so for some reason, that same memory had come back to me of the martial arts situation. And I realized that there was only one technique. Remember that old man that told me, in judo years ago, he was like, yo, there's only one technique, and that's awareness. But remember, awareness, love, inner peace, happiness, sat chit ananda, they're all one thing. They're just different names for one unitary substance that we could call God. And so as he's saying this, it started applying to me. 10 years, 12 years, 14 years, I've been doing that and that martial art, and all of these components started coming up. And it was like, there's only one technique. There was only one technique, and it was love. And so as I'm sitting there at the height of this psychosis, I was like, okay, yo, there's just love every situation. Felicity would say something, and inside of me there would be anger and all kinds of, you look, you don't understand, and this is not, and this is that, and then I just started saying, whatever you say, love. She would say something, I would say, whatever you say, love. I want to fight her in my mind, but whatever you say, love. And all of a sudden the emotions, they calm themselves, they clear themselves out. And when my mind began to think in terms, I started seeing those people again, all those thousand faces of the same person. It could be my mom, the same person all over the place. One of them kind, one of them jealous, one of them upset, one of them happy, one of them, scared, one of them, all these different faces. Send them love. Love, 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 love. If you get, matter of fact, Felicity, you could put in the chat, like, how many times did I say love, 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 love? Because she's sitting there like right by me the whole time. Love, 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 love. I kept saying love as an affirmation because I had to be able to ground myself in that which could not be corrupted. And out of that experience, a few insights that I had to write down came to me. And it was like, love is the unassailable weapon. If you want to be free, love is your unassailable weapon. It has no point of attack. You cannot have love and fear at the same time, and so it cannot be corrupted. Love, 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 love. That was my affirmation. And it brought me back to a level of sanity, even at the heart of this psychotic event. At the heart of it. Felicity says, too many to count. Love, 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 love. She's saying too many to count. She's got a smiling face and an emoji, like love, 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 love. And I started seeing that, there would be these moments where my body would kind of freeze in these weird positions. Like my body would like freeze in these weird positions. And out of that, one of my gifts is the ability to take the transcendent, take what God gives me and say it. But in that state of mind, the floodgates to God are so open that when I'm talking, I can provide no context. So it all comes out as love, 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 love. Love is the unassailable weapon. Love is the unassailable weapon. Love is the unassailable. It all comes out as some weird, almost like gibberish. The awareness, I'm watching myself do this. So I'm aware, I'm watching myself do this, but I'm also watching that my body doesn't move. It was as if my body got frozen into these positions. You've seen people strung out on coke, on drugs on the street, and they're, sometimes they'll be in these weird positions. And I'm telling you, it was as if my body had forgotten any other way to be. It was as if it had forgotten any other way to be. And so once awareness comes back and notices that I've kind of been frozen in one position for, and whatever, 20 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever it is, okay, then I could relax. But without that love situation, that's a tough one, because in that kind of psychotic episode, you can look at someone that you love. I could look at Felicity and I could say, oh man, Felicity, there's something on you. There's something on your skin. There's something on your skin. This body is keeping you trapped. I've got to liberate you from it. Right? My very capacity to love this person made me want to do things to this person that would have injured her. Because I'm trying to get that spirit out. I want to get her good spirit out. Notice what I'm saying. Your reasoning capacity does not disappear. Your reasoning is simply applied to, it's simply applied based on a faulty premise. Right? Your reasoning is based on a faulty interpretation of reality, and therefore what you think you're seeing, you are not seeing. How would you ever keep it straight? What you think you're seeing in that psychotic event, what you think you're seeing, you're not seeing. And so you're applying your reasoning based off of what you're seeing. Had I continued to do that, I might have hurt Felicity. I might have said, "Oh man, you've got such a pure heart. I need to release that to the world." And it makes perfect sense in that situation. If I think that her body, her external shell is stopping her, yeah, it makes perfect sense. It's not that it doesn't make rational sense. It's that it's a rationality based off of a faulty premise based off a faulty perception of what is being seen. Tell me what's the difference between being in that psychotic episode and being in normal everyday life where people are operating based only on what they're seeing. So as we get back to this, I'm thinking, okay, how did I stop myself from grabbing Felicity and trying to release her soul? Which is not, it's not funny, but I'm saying, I can really remember that being a part of the situation, a part of what I wanted to do. Love, 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 love. Let's love first and then see what you would do. In other words, send love even to your thoughts about what you need to do and then see what you would do. And that brought me back to sanity. It brought me back to, oh, I don't need to. We're good. That level of psychosis, that psychotic experience, that allowed me to see the value of conscious transformation technologies. Without that training, I don't know. I don't know what would have happened, but I do know this. Coming back to this feature of love, coming back to this component of love, there's one other piece. When I closed my eyes in that state, I saw, you could think of it as, I don't have any other way to say it. You could think of it as a globe. This globe where the skin of the globe, the if you could think about the world, right? You know how the ocean looks and the continents. Now imagine all of those things just vibrating super fast and vibrating as light and vibrating super fast in such a way that the difference between the continent and the water becomes indistinguishable. And it just becomes a pulsing ball of light, like, different parts. And if you go deeper into it, you see that this isn't just a pulsing ball of light, but that each one of these little pulsations is an entire reality coming and going, disappearing and coming and going, coming and going, coming and going. All these realities, all these universes coming and going across time, disappearing, coming and going, manifesting, and then unmanifest, coming and going, just all across time. Trillions of realities appearing 1 minute, trillions of realities disappearing 1 minute. And the elements, when they dissolve, when a reality dissolves, its elements, its constitutive parts reintegrate over in a new reality, right? So it's a single ball, but it's constantly pulsating, pulsating, pulsating. It was like that. And I was like, oh, look, I'm looking at all of eternity. I'm looking at this is all of manifestation right here. This is everything. But all of that everything existed on this mount. There was something that was stable underneath it. So you can imagine a ball, like a snow globe, right? There's the globe, and then there's the thing that the snow globe sits on. That fount was love itself. And at that point, that's when I started breaking out into tears. I don't cry often. And so at this point, I'm like bawling, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's just all of manifestation existing on the mount of love. I'm not asking you to believe me. I'm saying all of manifestation existing on the mount of love. The exercise that we went through just a moment ago, we were talking about Sanaya Roman. What would you do were you not to help anyone? I told you that love was the only thing that would matter. A part of you understands that to be true. It's the same thing with all of reality. Love is the only thing that matters. And then you have all the manifestation coming and going. Nothing that you create is going to last in physical form. You know that. The only thing that would matter is the love with which you created that thing. You understand? And so once I saw that, I was like, yo, how can I go back? I looked at Felicity one time, and as I caught her eye and the way she looked at me, and I saw in her eyes, I saw God, her higher self. Breaking out into tears again. I was like, oh, I knew you were, what I call you, Felicity? I said, I knew I said, I knew you were the sage. I knew you were the sage. Didi, that's right. Your body was stuck in time and love brought you back. That's right. It was like, it's just like that. It was like that. Especially as men, we want to protect, you want to provide, you want to do all the things. And sometimes you can forget that at the core of the people that you want to protect and provide is a power that requires no protection. You can forget that. You can forget that. And so that was the reminder that they say, be still and know that I am God. I say, love and know that I am God. It is no coincidence that the person that I shared my life with, the person who was there on that day, is her name is Felicity, right? The Felicity just means happiness. Happiness coterminous with, if you remember the video, you are infinite happiness, right? Infinite happiness is just, it's just another name for God as well. Of course love would bring you to it. Of course it would be by your side. Ah, right. Makes sense because God is love. Exactly right, Didi. Kabaya says, sending love your way just for sharing this powerful moment experience. I should say, Kabaya, thank you for being love. And so, it doesn't matter if if I was just in a hallucination that entire experience, the metaphorical resources, the equipment for living that was pulled from that experience means that for me, what other reason is there to do something if not for love? Well, what else is there? In other words, you'll hear me say when we talk about manifestation, I hear a lot of people trying to manifest, just to manifest. Like, okay, listen, whatever you manifest is going to come and go, just as any physical form would. But what of the love? Yes, manifestation is real. You're doing it all the time. In fact, that ball that I was telling you about is just manifestation. It's just a bird's eye view of all the manifesting that's happening across all realities ever. It's just represented as a graphic model. That's what it would look like. Represented as a model, that's what it would look like. Is that ball just pulsating of light, trillions of realities disappearing, appearing, disappearing, appearing, disappearing, appearing forever, forever, reconstituting themselves, recycling themselves into new realities, other places. You understand? But the only thing that's stable is that mount, that love, that God. It is producing all of the things that are manifesting. Therefore, when you manifest from that place of love, you are, in a sense, you are very clearly mirroring God itself, mirroring the divine itself. Why? Because in this model I'm presenting you with now, that mount of love holds all of the manifesting that's ever going to happen across any dimension ever. It all comes from that love and all returns back to it. And so, because of that, when we in our individual lives, as human beings, as human forms, in the human form, manifest the reality we love, we are in that way holding up a mirror to reality itself. We are holding up a mirror to God itself and showing God what it looks like to be itself. This is destiny. This is completion. And so, what would you do if you weren't going to help anybody? Because from that perspective of that mountain love, nobody's getting help. What are you talking about? The reality is disappearing. It's already done. It's already. But you remain. Love remains. And so what else matters? The manifesting cannot matter. It is not the ultimate. So you can manifest. We're eventually going to get to, as a species, a place where being able to manifest what you want is like something that 18-year-olds learn. Like, okay, like you've learned how to do that. Okay, great, you're an adult now. But what of your love? It's why weeks ago I said, judge me by my capacity to love. It's the only thing that matters. It's the only thing that matters. Everything that we think that we're building, yes, I want to share these kits with you. Yes, I want you to read the book. Yes, I want all the but if I offer you nothing but my love, if all of those things are simply vehicles for my love to communicate to you, that's the point. Because forms are going to come and go. Listen, if everything, this occurred to me yesterday. It's like if everything you did lasted for the next 10,000 years, in 100,000 years, you would be 90,000 years forgotten. Right? There are almost no people who we still know who existed 10,000 years ago in terms of the historical, record of, what I'm saying? You could talk about the Anunnaki and all different, that's different. I'm talking about in academia, right? There would be no one we could point to and be like, yo, this figure existed 10,000 years. Like, we don't really know. But all the people we're talking about, Jesus of Nazareth or the Christ, 2,000 years ago, in 100,000 years, will that still be true? It's possible that these figures that they have a 20,000, maybe 10,000, maybe only 5,000 lifespan. It doesn't make any difference. The forms are going to come and go. I'm telling you. This is a guarantee. The forms are going to come and go. Everything that comes on the scene must pass. This is how it goes. You know this from your own life. This is how it goes. But there is that God essence, which is that love essence that never passes. Why not bring it into every single thing? Let it infuse every single thing that you touch until love beams from your eyes. I used to think about how, I think in the 60s, I told you about a person named Maharishi, which V was the one who recommended that book, The Teachings from the Ancient East, based off of that story. But Maharishi, his students would come in the 70s during the psychedelic movement. They would come and bring him LSD. So Maharishi was like this sage that, just was super enlightened, right? And they would bring him this LSD and he would pop all the LSD and not have a single episode. And his point was, once you've learned to control everything that's happening in your body enough, you learn that all the things that you're popping these drugs in order to do are already within you. And so I was like, yo, man, how did he do that? And if my experience with THC is any indication, then he learned how to access love immediately. And I don't want to say weaponize it, but I mean use it in order to wield his own mind. That's the power of what I'm talking about. Love, I'm not just talking about a simple emotion. I'm talking about a higher love that allows you to control your own mind. There was only one technique. I've got a whole system devised, and I had the whole system devised before I went to this situation. But that system is valuable insofar as it allows you to touch the eternal, to touch that mount I was telling you about, and bring you into a powerful way to wield your own mind. But do it from your divine self, not just a fearful self. Do it from your divine self. This is the value. I've got nothing else to offer you. Matter of fact, I don't think nobody else has anything to offer. In fact, I know nobody else has anything to offer you if it's not for their love. I'm talking about higher love. I'm not talking about emotional love. It's also emotional. That's why I call it love, because I know when I say it, you know what it is. But I'm saying that were we to advance our training in love, we would see that it has a productive potentiality that is so far beyond the human intellect. So far beyond. So far beyond, you must call it God itself. There's no other term. So when people say God is love, man, that's become a colloquialism, sort of a cliche sort of thing, bruh, but they telling the truth. They're telling the truth. And for people who are on the streets, yelling sort of, wild things about whatever, some of those people are having the most extreme divine experiences known. But they're getting so much information that they cannot appropriately apply the rules of effective communication, and so can't tell you the value of what they're experiencing. I know, because I was just there. As a person who's very good at telling the value of what I'm experiencing, I could not. It just came out. Love, 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 love. Love is the unassailable weapon. Love is unalterable. Love is unalterable, right? It just kept coming out. Only afterwards could I reflect back and say, okay, yo, let's add context to this and then let's share it. I want to do a video about this at some point. At some point, I'll have to do something. But this is the way. Is if you can manifest, create that which you want from that place of love directly, That's manifesting. And that's true freedom. I heard somebody say the other day that, freedom is having choice. Freedom is the ability to choose. I would say that freedom is love, because what is the purpose of choice in the human experience? What is the purpose of choice if not to select from myriad options that option that is going to allow us to live in the best way we wish to live? In other words, what's the purpose of choice if not to select from the myriad of options that option which we love the most and which yields us the most love? If someone said, hey, look, we got a door number one, behind door number one, it's all the choices. You get all the options to make. You can make every option. But door number two is everything that you ever loved, experiencing it all the time, every moment of the day, forever, in love, joyfully in love. There would be only one choice. You could sit and be like, well, I don't know, man. I will kind of want the choice to choose if this is but bro, you would pick the love door. Why don't you stop playing? You would pick that one because the highest use of choice is love. It's the only thing we're many of us are just hoping our choices end up leading to love. You dig what I'm saying? End up leading to that option that we want the most. This ties right into our conversation on overthinking. We're thinking that if we can just think enough, then we can make a choice that is somehow going to get us into a great outcome. And that great outcome is always defined by what we want. And what we want is always defined by love, what we love. So the purpose of choice is to get what you love. So therefore, if there is a freedom of choice, there must be a freedom. Love must be the highest choice. Love must be the highest freedom as a result. Somebody say yes if you understand. Dee Dee saying, yes, Dr. Shawn, I've learned that you cannot seek to want to be a master manifester and not discover who you really are. Finding out who you really are leads you to realize you and God are one. That's 100% right. And that's the value of the journey. That's why I'm not mad at the whole manifestation, situation that's going on right now in a lot of these circles. Like it's leading people higher. It's leading people higher. It's a large point of what we're going to be talking about. You know what I'm saying? In the master class and beyond, in the book, everything else. It's a part of it. All I'm saying now is manifest from that clearest space, which is love. In the book, I don't call it, yes, I call it love at times. But obviously I didn't have this experience until after it was written. But in the book, I call it, right, supreme awareness, and I call it peace. I don't mind, right? Peace, love, happiness, these are actually coterminous. They mean the same thing. It's just that we say them in different contexts because we're speaking about, sort of different chakra systems in the body and that sort of thing. They're just the same thing. But I also call it love in the book as well. But we want to be manifesting from that place of love, because only then do we actually mirror the divine. Not manifesting from a place of, I just want to show them, or I just can't wait to floss on them, or I just can't wait to. Is that really what you love? Is that really what you love? Going back to that situation where I was talking about Felicity, and wanting to get the good light out of her and wanting to get her heart out of her and all this old stuff, like that was based off of, that was a hyper exaggerated experience that is so typical in the human experience. It was a hyper exaggeration of what is already normal in most people's lives. What did I want to do? I wanted to change something that I thought I was seeing. I wanted to change something in her that I thought I was seeing. Not what was actually true, but what I thought was true. And so I was about to start putting a path together in order to handle what I saw. What did I tell you last week? This is so important. Remember, I went into that long diatribe about martial art, and I went into that long diatribe about how, I went into the gym and closed my eyes And I was wrestling one of the senior black belts with my eyes closed, and that I had did the best that I ever did because I wasn't being tricked by what I saw. It's the same thing. That feeling, I'm not talking about feelings, I'm not talking about your emotions. I'm saying that feeling, that clear awareness, when it's not being manipulated by what you're seeing, that clear awareness will take you straight to the truth. And love was how I that love, first of all, love is that clear awareness. And so rather than going and grabbing tools and saying, oh, Felicity, you know what I'm saying, just hold still, this is going to be all right. Rather than going all the way with it, love, 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 love. Okay, now you're back. If she says something that's wild, which wild was just, hey, do you want something to drink? Like to me, I was like, what you mean do I want something to drink? You know what I'm saying? Like you start going a little out of it with it, right? Love, love, love. Whatever you say, love. Whatever you say, love. Just don't make her wrong. Whatever you say, love. Hold her to the highest elevated level. And what turned into an evening that could have been on the news. Not really sure how a food truck even gets clearance to do that. By the way, you know what I'm saying? I'm not about to blow their spot up or nothing like that. I'm not really sure how they can even sell this stuff out there, just keeping it in a stack. But that's on me. We talk about spiritual responsibility. I had engineered that situation to occur in just that way because it was something I needed to see. I needed to learn. I had engineered that, not at the level of a person. I'm not saying I went out and called and made some. No, no, no. I'm saying that spirit engineered that situation so that I could bring forth this message to you and for me, which is that love is the answer. I'm not talking about, you hear people say, well, sometimes love ain't enough. It's like, bro, you're not talking about the highest love that I'm talking about. If you're talking about the highest love that I'm talking about, then it's more than enough. In fact, it's the only thing that is. In fact, it's the only thing that is. So there's that. It's the only thing that is. It's more than enough. Because from that position, now you can create everything that you would. Everything that you want. But you're going to do it when you're creating these things. You're going to be able to do it in a way that you create them and you're also able to let them go. You don't create something and then get fearful about losing it, which can happen. And so then people have to fight in order to protect. You could understand so much of our global world culture as being that precise fight. We built this thing, now we got to protect it. If we don't, then the mongrels are going to get it, or it's the barbarians, or it's the, you name a group. Tobias is saying yes. Kamar is saying yes. Stephanie, welcome into the room. I think this might be your first time. Welcome in. She's saying yes. Christy's saying yes. Dee Dee's saying yes. Yeah. So that's the he says, you're one of the first to say our names correctly. We appreciate the love. And I love that. He says, we appreciate the love. Everything that I'm hearing tonight is that, my God, if there were one religious practice, could it be to appreciate the love? When I say the love, I mean the love of the universe, the love of God. Could it be? Could it be? There's only one technique. I called the teacher. I talk about the teacher in here. Remember, this is the dude that we, trained me to go on outer body experiences. And I actually called him. I was like, man, listen, if we hadn't done all of that training, I probably wouldn't have even been sensitive enough to even experience half of those things. So I got to kind of blame you for going through, the experience. I was just joking with him, but he was like, listen, I'll give you one spoiler from the book is that, I went on one outer body experience and actually met him in the outer body experience, right? I'm not going to go into more details. It's in the book. You'll have it. Many of you already ordered it. So just make sure to read the foreword because I put it like in that introduction section. I didn't put it in the actual, book. But at any rate, so this is a person who, outer body, inner body, just wild. So anyway, I called him maybe weeks later, and he was like, listen, I was 2 steps away from sending you an email on your birthday. And he was like, you know what it said? He said, you know what it was going to say? I was like, what was it going to say? He was like, it was going to say, are you okay? Right? Because I had sensed that you had, went through a shift. You had went through something. And so I'm telling him, I told him the story I just told you. And he was like, you, your training has allowed you to understand this in this way. But, you know, even this experience you'll have to let go of, right? Even that experience, let it go. And I was like, yo, man, like, which he always says. That's like his whole thing. If you manifest, like, okay, like, like, unimpressed, because there's only one thing that's impressive, and that's the fabric of reality. That's God. That's consciousness. That's love. You know, it doesn't mean you want to dismiss anyone's story or anything, or dismiss. It's nothing like that. Just a reminder that these sorts of experiences you don't get hung up on. It makes no difference. Even though you can still see how it still affects me, on an emotional level, the situation is that it affects me on an emotional level because the truth is so profound that there was only one technique, and it was love. Dr. Umar Johnson talked about, if I'm saying, he was talking about how, black people fear white people, right? And I thought a lot about that, and I was thinking, like, and by the way, I'm like, I don't think it. I thought so much about that, to say I think, you could go and read my dissertation. Like, it's what anyway. So, but he said that, and I was thinking, like, look, were we to actually, were you to actually love people, you can't fear them. Were you to actually love people, you can't fear them, which means what? You can now hold them accountable in a different sort of way. If I actually love you and you come and try and disrespect me, I'm going to have to set appropriate boundaries with you. In other words, I love you so much that I'm not going to allow you to disrespect yourself by disrespecting me. You dig what I'm saying? In other words, that love erases the fear. And when that happens, now there's a whole different set of relationships. There's a whole different relationship with one another that we can cultivate. And secretly, everybody's asking for that. Secretly, every group of people, I don't care if they're in power or not in power, what systems they devise or haven't devised, everybody is asking quietly. At the level of the soul, they're all asking for you to show them the way to that love, to show them back to God. And so that's also a part of the book, right? And so, there'll be conversations on that inside of it, but mostly it's a mostly it's a love experience, because that's what it took to create. And so as we think about love, the other piece is that the love erases the fear. When I was in that psychotic episode, the moment that I had a fearful thought, it manifested like immediately in the form of a person or some type of negative memory or whatever. The only thing that could keep me out from going left or right was love. It's the only thing that could keep me centered. And so that same thing is true in the non-psychotic episode, in the experience we're having right now. When I call it love, we could also call it presence. We could also call it being centered. We could also call it being in awareness. We could also call it abiding in the joy of God. I don't care what you call it. Really, I'm calling it love for right now, because that matches the cadence we've set and the theme of the story that I just told and been waiting to tell you for a while. But that balance, Let me call it balance. That love. It's always the point. That's always the point. Shirley Scott in the building. Shirley Scott, what's happening? Shirley Scott says yes. Beautiful. Beautiful. So, folks, what an evening. You know what I'm saying? What an evening. This was meant to be a shorter show. I really don't know how y'all be getting on here for like 3 hours. This is probably our longest show. This is the season finale of the deep dives. Do not miss out on grabbing a copy of Spiritual Responsibility. Link is in the description. But more than that, we're also doing our masterclass. Just to recap, let me find Dee Dee's thing because Dee Dee said it straight for everybody. We're doing a masterclass where we can train together, right? Where we can actually come together, train together, discuss together, be together, and have this be something that is beyond just a lecture. Yes, the lectures are great for getting people to understand what I'm talking about or what I'm about to talk about, but at some point we're going to need that training, because I can assure you, without having that training in that in that experience that ended up being about love, which ended up being the best gift, the best birthday ever, even though we had to cancel dinner and all the, drinks and all everything else that night, it ended up being the best gift. But without the sensitivity, without all of the practice and the time and without this passion for actually caring about the mind and purpose and what we're doing here and all of it, that could have turned into a nightly news story rather than a YouTube story that's happening on a live sometime. You know what I'm saying? It could have it could have got crazy. And but fortunately now we can turn it into a story that serves. Not that it serves in order to help somebody necessarily, but it serves in the sense that it's a vehicle for the love that I have for this understanding. And then that love is the thing that serves. Why? Because that love is also in you. And so it brings you back to the heart of you, which is God. And that's the point. And that's the point. That's why there's only one technique. So, masterclass, 4 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Australian. That's what we're talking about. Be on the lookout for the details for that. I'll probably have that up in the next few weeks, or next week, next couple of weeks. But yeah, so it'll be something that's off of the YouTube live per se, because we want to make sure that when you come, you're on time for that, and that there is a very clear start time, because each of the techniques that we're going to be going through, they're cumulative. So we need one in order to get to the second, in order to get to the third. But by the end of it, you'll see that, oh gosh, there's something special here that I can use, and I can deepen within. And not only that, each one of these techniques is not intellectual. They're bringing me back to my experience of God, so that I might call forth that which I would into the world, in alignment with love, of course. And so that experience, I still it's pretty much done, but I have to continue to develop it so that it's the best experience it can be for you. And then, once that's done, I'll be able to hit you up and say, hey, get on the link though. And then we'll set it up for those Sundays, and we'll do a season of that. And that'll basically be the next season, or the next series, that'll essentially replace the deep dives until the deep dives come back, or until, there's something new. So with that being said, okay, True Love is in the room. Oh, True Love. This is your first time in the room. That's beautiful. Everything's a sign tonight. Welcome in, True Love. True Love saying, thank you, Dr. Shawn, for always taking time out to share and connect. Always great wisdom shared. It was nice sharing presence with all of you. Oh, so beautiful. Shango saying, tonight was special. Thank you, everyone. True Love saying yes. Kabias Wheeler saying 11:11 on my clock, if that's not confirmation. Hilarious. True Love, always a profound and expansive conversation. Kamar saying, thank you, Dr. Shawn. No, thank you all for jumping in. This is this is so gorgeous. And Shirley Scott is saying love cast out negative thoughts. Yes. Yes. At any level of psychosis, love cast out those negative thoughts. I don't know if you'll ever find yourself in a psychotic episode. I sure hope not. I sure hope it isn't something that you you know that you do because you think you're taking some CBD oil gummies and you didn't read the package close enough. You know what I'm saying? I sure hope it isn't anything like that. But if it ever is, you must return to that love. And a psychotic episode doesn't just need to be drug induced. It can be something where you're overly upset with somebody. You're overly blaming someone else for some incident. You just find yourself overly upset. That's a good sign that it's time to return to love. Overly frustrated, overly anxious, overthinking. It's a good sign that it's time to return to love. Each one of those is just a lesser form of a psychotic experience anyway. It's just a lesser form of psychosis. It's not drug induced, but it becomes so normal for people to be overthinking, to be fearful, to be in anxiety, to be depressed that we forget that these are mental states that also have a solution. You must be able to abide in that love. Do that by sending love to the thoughts itself, sending love to that negative person that bothered you. In that state, I noticed that it wasn't enough to think about a person. Like I was saying, each person would appear 1,000 times over, and some of them would be kind and some of them wouldn't. I had to think about love itself as an energy source, as a higher energy source. Only that was enough to keep me clear. And so the end of that story is, once I was abiding in love enough, I was literally abiding in love so much that I was basically back. Like, you could have came and had a conversation with me. I wouldn't have been able to say anything other than love. I would have been like, love, 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 whatever you say, love, whatever you say, love. It wouldn't have been too, I might have been able to answer yes and no questions, but it would have been just, that's all I would have been able to do with you. But eventually I was abiding so much, but my mind was back. Like, I was like, okay, I can see that we're back in a room and all of these experiences of dying and all this other stuff. So what? So what? We've died millions of times before. It's no longer an issue. So what? The love remains, though. You understand? That love remains. That's how we exist once we leave and once we decide to come back. That's all of it. All of it takes fractions of a second. To say it takes a second, to even say that it takes an attosecond for your entire life to come and go, for your entire universe to come and go, is already saying it takes an eternity too long. It's here and then it's not. You see what I'm saying? In that state, you can see this, right? But in that love, and none of that matters. There's just that peace, that balance. You're like a rock in a river, and the water flows around you, no issue. And so abiding in that, I was like, okay, I'm pretty much back. And then eventually I started feeling, my stomach, got the bubbling, or not like that, but the other way. I ended up throwing up, and that must have released all the compounds, because after that, then I could have a conversation with you. So the whole ordeal probably lasted a couple hours, but boy, it was a transformative experience. Not because I got new information. I had already known all of that stuff. Had already experienced it at some level before, just never like that. And so there was a deepening. It wasn't a surface level. I had already known all of that stuff, but there was this deepening that happened. And that's what we're talking about here. That's what we're talking about, getting that deepening. There's not really so much more to teach. Yes, there's certain techniques and things that we could train in and that sort of thing, and that's wonderful. And there's certainly new perspectives in terms of spiritual responsibility, the concept that you are responsible for all the things that are happening. So even that drug experience, like, that was me. That was me as the higher self orchestrating that in order to bring about a deepening. I own that. So I don't even feel the need to go and try and, that truck might not even be there anymore. They could have, just moved. And then you go and ask people about it, and they're like, what truck? We never saw one. You know what I'm saying? Like, it could be something crazy like that. No problem. It doesn't matter. Maybe it's still there. But the situation is that when we come from this place of spiritual responsibility, we're coming from this new perspective, and our goal is to deepen within this new perspective, to deepen within it. And so I hope you got value out of tonight. I hope you'll like, share, subscribe. Maybe not share this one. Yeah, I mean, but yeah, that's cool too. Like, you know what I'm saying? Whatever you want to do, man. Look, like, share, subscribe. This one got deeper than I thought it was gonna get. But I had a lot of fun with it, and I can't wait to see what we're able to do together in terms of the master class. I would definitely say, but next time I see you, you'll have some time to have dived into spiritual responsibility. And so order that copy and then read it. Because coming to the master class already with a detailed understanding of what we're talking about and why we're talking about it, beyond just the videos and these conversations, that's going to be helpful. That's going to be very helpful. And it'll also give you a chance to work with some of the technologies that we'll be covering in the masterclass as well. Be on the lookout for that. True Love is saying always a high level conversation. Beautiful. Shirley Scott saying it was with higher level of growth. Bersil, where you been at? Bersil saying hello, sir. True Love saying you're incredible. Oh, wonderful. Thank you, True Love. Yes. Yeah, True Love says love's messenger. Yeah, if I could be anything, that would be it. Dr. Shawn, you have to do a whole video like you did for the Return to Your Roots video. Bro, I'm thinking of I am so come on, I'm thinking about that. Like I don't know how to like there's so many ideas about how to do a video like that where we talk about love. And I've got something coming, but even it was filmed. It was that what's so crazy is the piece that I have on love happened before this experience. And so all of that information about, love being the unassailable weapon, I wouldn't have said that, because I didn't have that experience yet. Right. So, but that piece itself is going to, I'm looking to work on that after we get through the 19 Keys interview. There'll be some other things, and then we'll launch that one. But then after that, this idea of love, the unassailable weapon, there's something there poetically. There's something there that can be turned into an art piece. So I'm really thinking about that one and how to do it, because I gotta love it. Once I see it, I gotta be like, that's cold. You know what I'm saying? And so, that is just going to take some workshopping and take some creating, which is what I love, so that's the whole thing. Yes, love is soul food. Why? And then Dee Dee says, and remember, love is the new currency. Yes, the payment and the price. And don't you find that when you do that, Dee Dee, if you're songwriting, if you're singing, if you're doing your music, Dee Dee, that when you're putting your love into it, yes, you want to share it with other people, but you have two new qualities that are added to you. One is you've already been paid because you already love doing it, right? And then two is you have no problem pushing it on people and making them listen, because you know that what's in it is something powerful for them. You know what I'm saying? In other words, you end up getting more people to listen, and you're already satisfied because you've already been paid from the very love for having done it in the first place. The idea of now from that perspective, you can look at the person who's in the comparison and contrasting game and trying to think about this person's streams and hits and all this old stuff. Why? Who in this world can love on your behalf? Somebody please tell me. Who in this world can love on behalf of Dee Dee? Who can jump into Dee Dee's body and send out love from Dee Dee and put love into everything that Dee Dee does for Dee Dee? Like nobody can do that. which means that if Dee Dee doesn't do it, it doesn't get done. And that is called higher purpose. That is called life's work. That is called your life's joy. No one else can do it for you. You can't be in competition. Who could do it for you? You know what I'm saying? Nobody else can come in and take that role. So there's nothing to compete over. Somebody, matter of fact, before I jump out of here, somebody put yes in the chat if you understand what I've just said. Somebody put yes, no competition. Yes, there's no competition. Because if you understand that it's not just that you're running your own race, there's literally nobody else in the world who can love from within you. Which means that if you don't do the loving, there's less of it. It doesn't get done. Now you could say, okay, well, love would just go and find a new place. Yes, but it couldn't be through your work. It couldn't be through your eyes. That's the point. There's no competition. You're not competing with anybody. Which means basing your life decisions off of what somebody else is going to say or think wouldn't make any sense, because there would be no finish line. There's no metric to gauge yourself against, because there's no competition with anyone else. The only metric to gauge yourself against is whether or not you're bringing your love to whatever it is that you do, whether or not you're acting with love right now. All right. Beautifully said. Love that. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, no competition. Kabaya saying no competition. Kamar saying yes, no competition. Kamar, yes, sir. Shirley Scott, yes. Kamar saying no one, only her. No one, only her. Shango saying no one. True Love saying nobody. Love it. Definitely something there. I'm glad I'm here. Right time, right place. Me too. I'm glad you're here too. Me too. I'm glad I'm here too. Are there any way I'm able to speak with you outside of the broadcast? Brazil. Yeah, we're going to start doing a masterclass, Brazil. Then Brazil. Sorry, I got to read this other comment. Brazil also said this. I'm basking in love, my brother. That's the whole point. The whole point. Never leave. Never leave. He says, is there a way to communicate with me outside the broadcast? You already are. If you're broadcasting in that love, if you're in that love, you already are. Why would you leave me in order to come talk to Dr. Shawn? No, you already are with me. You understand? That's the point. That's the point. That me is you. That is the God love essence. You understand? This is the point. This is the point. That's the beautiful part. Yes. Yes. All of us are there with you when you are in that love. Basking in that love, all of us are there. Whoever you think you lost in your past, whoever you think left, whoever you think, no, we're all there with you. As the I am, you'll know it as that. If you did nothing else but make I am love your affirmation for tomorrow, my God. Some of y'all are going to be blessed just with that affirmation. I am love. Someone cuts you off in traffic. I am love. And you remember that this stuff is phenomenal. Reality is constantly in flux, coming in and out of existence. I mean, the beautiful thing is that it actually feels like we're people who have been coming to these lives and doing certain things, but once you step out of physical form, you'll realize that this was a dream within 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 a dream, and that the only thing that mattered was love. And that when you wake up, we'll all be there with you. You dig what I'm saying? That's the beautiful part. Dee Dee saying, wow, Dr. Shawn, this is confirmation for me. Thank you. True Love saying many lifetimes in the making. And True Love, I get the sense of that. I get the sense of that. Many lifetimes in the making. Oh, but also Brazil, yeah. Um, yes, so we're doing a master class. 4 p.m. So it'd be 6 p.m. Central. We're gonna start on Sundays. Be on the lookout in the community tab. Subscribe if you haven't, so that you can see that. But be on the lookout in the community tab. If you even if you don't do that, don't worry about it. I'll find you, right? And what we're doing is we're going to be jumping into a master class. These are going to be like, they're free, completely free, but they're a place for us to now start training and start connecting, start dialoguing, right? Because I have to have you try this technology. I have to, once you taste it, you'll be like, oh my God, like it's like that. And so that'll be one thing. That'll be free. Look for that on Sundays. Not this Sunday. I want to finish building it. And then I want to put it in the community tab so that you'll know the date and time and you'll be able to just sign up for that Sunday. We're taking these off of YouTube lives because I don't want people just kind of coming in the middle of it and being lost. I want people to be able to start with us and then finish with us. You know what I'm saying? And so very simple, very clear. Be on the lookout for that. Be on the lookout for that. Now, if you need something, else beyond that, then you can just shoot me an email. Just let me know if that's something that you want to talk about or whatever. So that's cool. But those master classes are going to be places for us to connect, to get on camera with one another. The whole thing is going to take place on camera. But when it's time to jump into our training, then obviously we'll switch into a new experience that I have for you, and we're just going to vibe out, and you'll come away with tools that you can use to live the life that you love. That's all I'm talking about. So let's be on the lookout for that. Brazil, let me know if that's answering your questions. Okay, so lower believing allow people to believe they're competing against the next. Exact. Lower belief makes people believe that they're competing against one another. But what we're saying here tonight is, from the clear perspective, there is no competition. There's only you. There's only love. Nobody else can do this. Nobody else can do what you're doing. And because love is always the same, it's the same love no matter who's doing it. No one else's love is better than yours. Like, you dig what I'm saying? Like, it's once you say it like that, oh yeah, no one else can do what you love for you and bring that love forward into the world and mirror the divine as you must. But that kind of makes the competition argument, it strips it of its potency. So now we're in a different place. Okay, True Love saying this isn't the first incarnation that you've been sharing this message, in many lifetimes in the making. Yes, yes. That's likely true. I do not remember, like, a past life, but I appreciate the sentiment. I'll explore that, and yeah, that's something. While our souls are waking into the truth right now. Yes, I am. Yes, yes. You are a clear channel for love to speak. Thank you for all that comes through you. Thank you so much, True Love. Kabayas, hashtag basking in love, hashtag I am love, hashtag beautiful people. Circumstances don't matter, only your state of being. Circumstances, Kabaya says, circumstances don't matter, only your state of being. Yes, the quality of consciousness that you bring toward the world is what changes that world. Literally. We're talking about consciousness so we could explain this at a practical level. If I go and say this in a university, people are going to be like, oh yeah, that's right. The quality of your consciousness. Now they're thinking lowercase c consciousness. They're going to be thinking the quality of the sort of decisions that you make and your worldview and the paradigm that's going to affect your habits, which affects your attitudes, which affects, right, the way that you operate in the world. Okay, that's the very simple way to say it. That's what I like. It makes intellectual sense for people who need that. But I'm talking about what makes spiritual sense. The quality of your consciousness literally determines the reality that you exist in. Remember, we go back to that globe that's constantly shifting in and out, trillions of realities disappearing all at once, back, recycling everything, everywhere, all at once, Haven't seen the movie. Definitely recommend it. All of that happening, the consciousness that you have determines your experience of that reality. And not only that, determines the reality that you exist in. How can you be sure that I'm the same Dr. Shawn Smith that you saw last week? The quality of your consciousness has now shifted you into a new reality. How can you be sure? You might have left that old Dr. Shawn Smith and stepped into a reality where there's a new Dr. Shawn Smith, one who cries on camera. Right? The quality of your consciousness determines that experience of reality. If you can understand this at the macro level, then you can understand it at the micro level. Our goal then is not to try and change other people and point fingers. Our goal, of course, is to change ourselves so that other people simply appear as they must. And the whole while we recognize the love that is within them because we recognize the love that's within us. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, we going there tonight. All right, y'all. It's getting late. I know some of y'all gotta go to work. You know what I'm saying? Some of y'all gotta, be up in the morning. Maybe you don't. Maybe you decide that no, your last day was today. I mean, regardless of whatever you choose, recognizing yourself as that love is the point of today. And we got there, of course, because love is a coterminous with peace. And the way out of overthinking is to ground yourself in that inner peace. You'll notice that there's not much of a difference between grounding yourself in inner peace and abiding in love. They are the same. Just finding ways of saying that same thing 50-11 times across 50-11 days. That's a YouTube channel. Shirley Scott saying, I came across you about 6 months ago when you were talking about you don't have a money problem. I was not ready, but God put you in my mind and you came back in my feed. Wow. Wow. Yes. Yes. Now, if you go back and watch that video, it's like, oh yeah, of course. Of course. I was not ready, but God put you in my mind and you came back in my feed. Excellent. Excellent. Well, there's a lot of different things on the channel now, including a few interviews. I mean, there's some content on there now, and especially if you want to go back through the lives, those are. I mean, you know, there's content. So, but regardless, to understand yourself as love, that gets at the heart of everything I'm trying to say anyway. Still watch the videos though. Matter of fact, be sure to like, share, subscribe, all that. Then definitely get the book, you know what I'm saying? Because I do want, if we can be talking about this the next time that we meet in the masterclass series, that'll be so fantastic. Link is in the description, of course, but that would be so fantastic because I want you to have a grounding, a philosophical understanding of what I'm talking about. You don't need to worry about getting lost in the book. The whole thing is straightforward, simple, to the point, and is something that you should be having a joyful experience as you're reading. You have that experience where sometimes you read a book and then you forget that you're reading a book and it just becomes a movie in your mind. It should be like that. You should be reading and then all of a sudden like, oh dang, shoot. In conversations with your friends, you'd be like, yeah, man, I saw this thing on YouTube, but it was like, oh wait, no, I was reading actually. You know what I'm saying? Like when it activates something in your mind like that, that's the experience I want to bring to you through the book. So you shouldn't be getting, bogged up on it. It's nothing like that. It's very clear, simple, to the point. Very simple, to the point. All right, y'all. This hasn't been our longest live. I guess it's the season finale. I guess this is the Game of Thrones moment. If you got one thing out of today, matter of fact, what is the one thing that you got out of today? I'm only looking for one word. Somebody put it in the chat. The one thing that you got out today, somebody put it in the chat. I'm only looking for one word. It could be whatever one word, but I'm only looking for one. And Felicity, that means you. Two. Hmm. Kabias is saying, citizens of love, have a wonderful evening, and may love, light, and laughter be sent to you on your corners of the world. Thank you so much, Kabias. Thank you so much, Kabias. We'll see you soon. Shirley Scott saying love. Kamar saying love. True love is saying leaning into love. Felicity Harris is saying love. Actually, I was thinking inner peace, y'all. No, I'm joking. No, but yes, love is the point. Love is the point. I'm gonna put love in there too. I'm gonna put love in there too, man. That's the point. So with all that being said, y'all, our goal is now and always to touch base with that deep divine self, that deep down divine self that is within. It goes by many names. I like to call it you. Some people call it God, consciousness, Tao. Its qualities are inner peace, happiness, bliss, joy, and most importantly, love.